He's here. I saw him. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the February 16th, 2016 School Board of Seminole County Board meeting. Unfortunately, I have to open a meeting with some more sad news of losing another Seminole County Public Schools family member. Ms. Sandra Lay, one of our Seminole County school bus drivers, passed away on January 26th. Ms. Lay was a school bus driver for 13 years and was loved by her peers as well as her students. She is survived by her husband, Ron, and two sons, Ronnie and Matthew. She was an important part of the transportation family and will be missed immensely. If you'd all please join me for a moment of silence, please, in Sandra's memory. Thank you very much. At this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Member Bauer to lead us in invocation and Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Good evening, everybody. As you know, yesterday was President's Day, which for me actually used to be a big holiday because I was a presidential trivia buff when I was in high school. At the time, like many of you, we called it Washington's birthday. But I thought I'd share a few things about President's Day that you may or may not know. President's Day is an American holiday celebrated on the third Monday in February. Originally established in 1885 in recognition of President George Washington, it is still officially called Washington's birthday by the federal government. Traditionally, it was celebrated on February 22nd, Washington's actual date of birth. The holiday became popularly known as President's Day after it was moved as part of 1971's Uniform Monday Holiday Act, an attempt to create more three-day weekends for the nation's workers. While several states still have individual holidays honoring the birthdays of Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and other figures, President's Day is now popularly viewed as a day to celebrate all U.S. presidents, past and present. The story of President's Day begins in 1800, following President George Washington's death in 1799. His February 22nd birthday became a perennial day of remembrance. At the time, Washington was venerated as the most important figure in American history, and events like the 1832 centennial of his birth and the start of construction of the Washington Monument in 1848 were cause for national celebration. The shift from Washington's birthday to President's Day began in the late 1960s when Congress proposed a measure known as the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, championed by Senator Robert McClory of Illinois. This law sought to shift the celebration of several federal holidays from specific dates to a series of predetermined Mondays. The proposed change was seen by many as a novel way to create more three-day weekends for the nation's workers, and it was believed that ensuring holidays always fell on the same weekday would reduce employee absenteeism. Like Independence Day, President's Day is traditionally viewed as a time of patriotic celebration and remembrance. In its original incarnation as Washington's birthday, the holiday gained special meaning during the difficulties of the Great Depression, when portraits of George Washington often graced the front pages of newspapers and magazines every February 22nd. In 1992, the date was used to reinstate the Purple Heart, a military decoration originally created by George Washington to honor soldiers killed or wounded while serving in the armed forces. Patriotic groups and the Boy Scouts of America also held celebrations on that day. And in 1998, some 5,000 people attended Mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York in honor of Washington. In its modern form, President's Day is used by many patriotic and historical groups as a date for staging celebrations, reenactments, and other events. A number of states also require their public schools spend the days leading up to President's Day teaching students about the accomplishments of the presidents, often with a focus on the lives of Washington and Lincoln. Please stand and join me in the pledge.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that all 5 school board members are in attendance, along with our legal counsel and superintendent. And I do have some acknowledgement requests submitted. Sue Carson as the SCA president. Thank you for being here this evening. Robert Agagnina, Lake Howell High School. Thank you for being here this evening. Susan Rodas Brown with Lake Mary Elementary, SCA. Thank you for being here this evening. Dr. Griffin, do you have any agenda modifications, please?
Yes, we have 2, Madam Chair. The addendum for good cause is marked on our electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item. And also I'm going to be pulling item 4D, field trip policy, which is on page 24 of your agenda.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any agenda modifications? First to Member Bauer.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Lockhart.
None, thank you.
Member Almond.
None, thank you.
And Member Schaffner.
None, thank you.
And I don't have any either. Therefore, I'll call for an approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and second. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Dr. Griffin, do we have any presentations?
Yes, we do. Please join me up front.
Board members, Dr. Griffin, it is my pleasure to announce the Director of Teaching and Learning, Mr. Sean Gard Harold. Sean graduated from Ball State University in 1997 with a bachelor's degree in elementary education. Since that time, he has taught grades 1 through 6, been an instructional coach, assistant principal, elementary curriculum coordinator, and most recently, the coordinator of professional development. Sean also holds a master's degree in curriculum and instruction and educational leadership. He is currently working toward completion of his doctorate in organizational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Most recently, Sean created the Power of You summer teacher training that allows teachers to select and differentiate their learning. Family members in attendance at tonight's board meeting, please stand. Are Sean's husband, Ryan Gard Harold, and their son, DJ Gard Harold.
Good evening, Mr. Russi. Sorry.
You're good.
Well, good evening, board members and Dr. Griffin. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to update you on what I have placed on the website regarding the most recent mediation involving the district bargaining teams and the association bargaining teams. And I'd just like to walk you through this, through the slides again, as I did at the last board meeting. There are some minor changes to this slide, and again, I think it's important to read this slide because there's some folks that were not here last time that did not hear this information, so if you'll bear with me. It says, by law, collective bargaining is to take place between the superintendent as the district's chief executive and the employees' chosen representatives. As much as the parties may like, the school board cannot bargain directly with employees, and the employees may not bargain with the school board except through their unions. However, it is important that the school board and the employees are aware of the positions that have been taken by their representatives. On Thursday, February 11, 2016, the district and union bargaining teams participated in mediation, which resolved all outstanding contract language, but failed to resolve salary issues. On Friday, February 12, 2016, a letter was sent to PERC advising of the request to submit all unresolved issues to a special magistrate. We therefore want to provide the following information. We do not seek a response from employees, nor are we trying to bargain directly with them. We will bargain with the unions. Any feedback from this information should be provided to the unions. We are ready to bargain or take whatever steps will most expeditiously bring bargaining to a conclusion, as we always have been. As far as our salary proposal, the school board's proposed offer is approximately $9,214,160. For the 2016 benefit plan year, the board will contribute an additional $500 to the employee's health savings account or health reimbursement account, whichever is applicable for all employees enrolled in the high deductible health plan at the time of ratification of the 2015-2016 contract. Effective June 30, 2016, all extracurricular and seasonal supplements shall increase annually by a percentage equal to the overall percentage increase to teacher salaries. Teachers at Title I eligible schools will receive $100. The average salary increase for a full-time teacher-based employee is 2.25%. For a teacher on the grandfather salary schedule, and again, I mentioned it previously, this is your PSC contract teachers or CC teachers, they'd receive $1209.22. For those annual contract teachers that are on the performance salary schedule, a teacher that had an effective final evaluation would receive $1,016.23, and a teacher on the performance salary schedule that was rated highly effective would receive $1,242.06. The average salary increase for a full-time SECA employee would be 2.25%. The average salary increase for a full-time NIPSCO employee would be 2.25%. And the average salary increase for a full-time school bus driver's employee would receive 2.25%. The salary increase is recurring and is not a bonus. The salary increase is retroactive to the beginning of the 2015-2016 contract year. The salary increase will be reported to the Florida Retirement System as part of the employee's annual compensation. And lastly, all outstanding contract language has been settled. Some additional information is repeated from the last board meeting. The current starting salary for a beginning teacher in Seminole County Public Schools is $39,000. The average salary of an SCPS teacher is $47,594. The school board provides an average of $7,889 in health and life insurance benefits. The school board also pays on average $7,448 for the required FICA and retirement for a teacher. All full-time employees are provided the opportunity to select the high deductible health insurance plan, which the school board pays 100% of the required premium. All full-time employees may earn up to $750 in a health savings account by completing 3 wellness incentives or $750 in premium relief for the open access health insurance plan. And again, last time I presented this slide, and just to reinforce what it said before, this shows the salary history since 1989-1990 school year, and as you can see, the salary increases varied in a wide range during that period of time. I'll direct you to the highlighted area in yellow. Again, those are the years that Dr. Griffin has been the superintendent of Seminole County Public Schools, and you'll notice in 12-13 there was a 2.62% increase for teachers. In 13-14 it was 3.48%, and in 14-15 it was 2.36%. This next chart shows all of our non-instructional employees and the salary adjustments that were made during the same time period. And again, you'll see they vary quite a bit, but the reason I'm showing a second slide is because they are not the same each year matching a teacher salary increase. And again, the area in yellow is the years that Dr. Griffin has been superintendent. You'll notice they're a little bit different on some of the years, not all. In 12-13, it was 2.6. In 13-14, 3.0. And in 14-15, it matched the teachers with a 2.36% increase. And again, as I said before, we've been meeting since early August of this year. You'll see all the dates listed there, and you'll notice the last date that we met was last Thursday, February 11th, when we met with a federal mediator with the unions. And that's all the information I have regarding the collective bargaining. I know we had, I believe the next item on the agenda, Dr. Griffin, was student performance.
Correct.
And as we start moving into the spring assessment season, moving toward all of the spring statewide standardized assessments that are going to be taking place, and also we're moving toward the final evaluation period for teacher evaluations, I thought it was important that everybody's aware of the statutory requirements that apply to assessments and also apply to the teacher evaluation. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to just walk you through each one of those statutes fairly quickly. First off, the statutes that govern assessments, you'll notice is 1008.22. In paren 4, it specifically states it requires each public school to participate in the statewide standardized assessment program. Also in the same statute, 1008.22, in paren 6A, it says measurement of student performance is the responsibility of the school district in those subjects and grade levels that are not measured by a statewide standardized assessment program. In statute 1008.25, paren 4A, each student must participate in the statewide assessment program. Students who score below level 3 must be evaluated to determine the nature of the student's difficulty, the areas of academic need, and the strategies for providing academic supports to improve the student's performance. And paren 4B, a student in kindergarten or grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3 not meeting the district or state requirements for satisfactory performance in English language arts and mathematics must be covered by one of the following. And starting with number 1 is an IEP, an individual educational plan. Number 2, a school-wide system of progress monitoring. Or 3, an individual progress monitoring plan. The next statute, 1008.25, paren 5A, is dealing with reading deficiencies identified by locally determined or statewide assessment in kindergarten or grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3, or through teacher observation, must be given intensive reading instruction. 1008.25, paren 6B, is the good cause exemption for mandatory retention, as provided in paragraph 5B. In 5B, it specifically requires us to retain a student in grade 3, not be promoted to grade 4, unless they achieve a level 2 or higher on the reading assessment. In 6B, it provides options for good cause exemption, and I know Dr. Cody will speak to that in a moment. The next statute I'm referring to is 1012.34. This is the statute that deals with teacher evaluations, and specifically in paren 3A1, it states that at least 1/3 of a performance evaluation must be based upon data and indicators of student performance in accordance with subsection 7. This has changed. Previously, before this past legislative session, a teacher with over 3 years of teaching experience, 50% of their evaluation was based on student performance. If they were less than 3 years, it was 40% of their evaluation. Statute changed to change it to a minimum of 1/3 this year. And looking at subsection 7, I'm showing you 7B, and it specifically states, for grades and subjects not assessed by statewide standardized assessments, each school district shall measure student performance using a methodology determined by the district. And that basically takes you through all the statutes that specifically address the reasons why we have to assess, and also how it ties to teacher and administrator evaluations. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cody, and she's going to talk to you about an update on the Iowa assessment.
Thank you, Mr. Russi. Board members, Mr. Russi covered the statutes. I'm just going to reference them as I share the history of how these decisions are made. So, As Mr. Russi documented, there are multiple statutory requirements that enter into decisions related to student progress monitoring and use of instructional time for assessment. And in Seminole County, we know students are the priority, and we understand the importance of protecting instructional time. And the board has gone on record, as has the superintendent, to try to do everything possible to do so. The challenge is to find a reasonable balance between the use of instructional time and the ability to align with statutory obligations. So in particular, for State Statute 1008.254B, as a district, we identified a district-wide system of progress monitoring. And this is important because as a choice district, we know Seminole County is a choice district. Our students move from school to school, and in addition to choice, there's significant mobility, families moving within Seminole County but to different school zones. So the Iowa assessment that we recommended is a valid and reliable, nationally norm-referenced test that was selected for this purpose. To comply with State Statute 1008.255A, in addition to using the Iowa assessment, we do use student SCPS teacher observational data as well as other data that they provide. It's important that we address the variance among our schools. I know as we go into schools, we have experiences where sometimes an A at one school might not be an A at a different school. There are different expectations. So in order to ensure that we're giving all students an opportunity to have their deficiencies remediated, we balance an objective assessment with the teacher information that they provide, and that's very, very important to us. State Statute 108.25 is critical for grade 3 students. Students who score a level 1 on the state test, the Florida Standards Assessment, must be retained unless, and there are 6 different criteria that you can use to help those students be promoted. And that includes assessment on the Iowa. That's one of the state-approved metrics that we can use. And finally, as Mr. Russi shared, the Iowa assessments serve as the student growth metric for K-3 evaluation. So for all of those statutorily reasons mentioned, the Iowa test was selected and recommended to the board. And when we have these conversations, we're looking to find the least number of ways to impact instruction and meet the greatest number of statutory obligations. So again, it's that balancing act of complying but trying to minimize instructional time. It's important to administer the assessment twice per year to document student growth. That's why we're doing this. We want to have that objective measure, and we want to have the teachers' measures. And in particular, at the kindergarten level, it's essential to work with our very youngest students when they're learning those foundational skills. If we can intervene and accelerate then, we're much more likely to have a successful 3rd grade student. We don't want to wait to remediate students. The longer we wait, the more difficult it is for them to attain the skills that they need. And as you know, many of us were in the classrooms during the kindergarten assessment, and I've heard from teachers as well as my own observations that a lot of those kindergarten students could read and comprehend a little bit more than we might have thought. On the other hand, we also had some students who haven't had a chance to learn their letters or sounds yet. So again, using an objective measure in conjunction with the teacher information allows us to better serve students, because our goal is for all students to achieve learning growth. And then really more importantly is that the superintendent and the board, via their strategic plan, have indicated that student learning growth is important. And for 1 year of instruction, every child, whether they're 2 years below grade level or 2 years above grade level should have evidence of 1 year learning growth. That's our obligation. So in using the Iowa, we're not minimizing teacher assessments or report card grades. We're doing it in conjunction with those. Expectations for student growth in the strategic plan include the KPIs, KPI number 4 and number 5, and actually number 4 references 1.5 years growth for students in the lower quartile, and for students at proficiency or above, 1.0. Again, hoping that all of our students, even those that are advanced, have that 1 year's growth. This, as you can see, the next assessment window that we will have for Iowa is April 25th through May 3rd. And administering this to third grade students will eliminate those students who may score a level 1 on the FSA from being told they're going to be retained and then later on giving them the Iowa and saying to them, okay, now you can go forward. We don't want to do that to students. We have an opportunity, and I talk to teachers when I go to schools, and the superintendent and board members meet with Teachers of the Year, and testing is on every agenda. And we've heard from teachers, especially K and 1, that the instructional time was longer than what it said in the teacher's manual, the teacher's guide, the administration manual. And so we've been in touch with the folks at Iowa, and we can do a better job communicating that really those windows need to be adhered to. And I understand why some of the teachers did allow students to finish, because there was a communication that all students should be allowed to finish if they needed to. And really, it's within a reasonable time frame. So I'm going to just read what it says in the Iowa manual and what we shared with our teachers. Timing for test sessions should adhere as closely as possible to the approximate times for kindergarten through grade 2 and to the published test times for grade 3. Significant variances from these approximated published times will impact student scores. So when we've had conversations with teachers, and you know, one teacher shared with us, well, you know, I wanted my students to have every opportunity to do all they could, and it took an extended amount of time, almost 90 minutes, but you know, they got through it. That's really too much time, and probably should say to us, why does that child need 90 minutes? So it's good information no matter what. Test administration in grades K through 2 should understand that most of the tests will be presented orally to the students, and therefore they must be conscious of pacing so that teachers are not moving too quickly or too slowly, and that teachers are experienced with that and they know how to control that pacing. Subtest times are approximate at grades K through 2 for this reason, but should be adhered to as closely as possible. And then it says allowing all students time to complete each item. And I think that's where the misunderstanding came about. And what we really need to say is most students. The other thing that we've heard from teachers is that the window was too long. And again, we'll do a survey and work with our principals and figure out the best thing to do. But they've suggested to us that we have a shorter window, do a couple of sub-tests in a day, giving students, you know, a morning and afternoon, and just get it done as opposed to stretch it out. We've also, it's been interesting because we've received questions from parents considering private school who want to know how our students do in Iowa. So that was something we weren't always anticipating, but evidently some of the private schools use Iowa as their metric for testing, and so they're interested in how we compare to the private school tests. So to conclude, although participation in Iowa is not required, 99% of our K-3 students participated, and the use of the Iowa assessments allows the district to comply with multiple statutes and provides the important objective growth metric for our youngest learners.
Thank you, Dr. Cody. Any questions, board members? No? Thank you.
I actually do. I have a question. Dr. Cody, one of the comments that I've had from parents, from a parent, a first grade parent, is looking at the report that they received after the initial test. She was very, she was hoping it would have been a little bit more descriptive. And when I looked at what she showed me that she was given and what we had been shown as what our parents would receive, it was different. And so I'm wondering, is there a standard expectation of a particular report that teachers can access that maybe not everyone is aware of how to access that? She wanted to sit down and review it, and that option wasn't provided to her. So can you help me understand with this next administration, because now we're actually going to see what has happened from then until now. I think parents are going to be really interested in seeing how their students did, and so give me an idea of how that should look.
Well, at first, at the younger grades, there was variability in language and reading test administration, and so we've tightened that up for this next go-round. So depending on the subtests that were given, you would get a different report, obviously. Some of the parents did get disaggregated reports that identified the different sub-skills within that particular test, and so our hope is this year that we'll be able to provide that information. We did train our school staff, and we have videos available to help teachers, because teachers have information beyond the assessment, so they may be able to look at that IO assessment and indicate that vowel sounds the child didn't perform here, but I've got this other evidence, so I'm not worried about that. However, when we got to the comprehension section, I'm seeing the same kinds of things in the classroom, and so that's an area we might want to work together on to improve. So, first administration, lots of lessons learned, lots of opportunities to listen to our teachers and parents, but we do hope to improve that communication.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Cody.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce, there they are. Okay, you're going to do the, okay. Kelly Thompson and Sarah Borowski from Assessment and Accountability, and they're going to share with the board the Florida Standards Assessment Frequently Asked Questions site. I know many of our parents are anxious to see that, as well as our staff. And Sarah will provide an update on the infrastructure trial that was done prior to administering FSA.
Good evening, board members. Tonight we wanted to share with you the progress that we've made on facilitating our frequently asked questions document. So as of Friday afternoon, we have updated and posted new frequently asked questions documents for elementary, middle, and high school as it relates to our FSA test. To access these documents, there's a couple of ways to do it. You can go to our main page, and if you go to the main page, one of the stories that's on there is the Florida Standards Assessment, Frequently Asked Questions. Click on the picture, and it will take you to the link to the documents. Another option is going to our main page, and you can select departments and then assessment and accountability, and it will take you directly then to the bottom of the page where you will see important information. The district testing calendar is there, and also the assessment FAQ link. If you click that, then you will see 3 different links, for one for high school, one for middle school, and one for elementary school that have been updated. So all that information is out there and available to parents and to the public. Additionally, as we discussed at one of our board work sessions, and this information is located within the testing frequently asked questions document for all levels, so that we can have consistent communication. We have created a testing questions email so that way if parents, after reviewing the FAQs have additional questions that have not been satisfied by that document, they can present their question directly to this email. That email is monitored by myself, by Ms. Borowski, and Ms. Reisner, who are our testing experts, and we'll be doing the replies to that. We have an auto reply that says we'll reply within 3 business days. It may be sooner than that if it's something that we have the answer to right away. But if it's something that needs some research, we need to contact FDOE, we want to be able to have the time to process and have the most accurate and up-to-date answer. We also ask that any questions that a parent may have about what specific day their student is scheduled to test should really be directed to the school and to the principal, as each of the schools develops their own daily testing schedule for students. We may not be able to be the right people to assist with that. Okay. Sarah's going to talk a little bit about what we experienced with the required infrastructure trials as we're readying ourselves for the computer-based testing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We are currently 8 instructional days away from our first administration of a computer-based test for spring 2016. So that is 8 days away. Part of the REB certification process to go up to the state was to indicate, as a district, are we ready for testing? So the infrastructure trial is a mandatory component that must be done by our districts. What the infrastructure trial does is that it asks for us to log into all the computers that's going to be used for testing to see can the district's infrastructure hold up? Can the broadband hold up? Can the program, the software platform, is it going to operate the way that we expect it to do so? So it is a mandatory process. The state this year usually gives it one date in which the whole state goes on at one time. This year they provided a 1-week window. So the choice that we made as a district was that we did it on Thursday, February 11th. We had 68 schools, and we had over 10,880 devices tested. They all logged in at 10 o'clock between 9:30 and 10:15, and they hit the system. The great news is that our infrastructure from the district, the internet, we did not even hit 50% of capacity. So our structure internally is at A+ rate, that we had no issues with going in with the broadband. However, we had many concerns about the platform. Last year, we experienced many challenges with how the kids, they would come into the system, they would log into the computer, and they would see a blank screen. Sometimes they would be typing for 35 minutes, only to find out that they lost their data. So all of these issues that we experienced last year, we were going into the infrastructure with the impression that they had a year that these issues would have been resolved. As you can see, we have quite a few notable concerns I want to bring to everybody's attention. The first thing is 22% of our schools indicated that there was a notable lag time between questions when students were inputting responses. They could have been sitting on question 7, then there could have been like a 10-second gap before we go to question 8. One of the main concerns that they had is that if you are typing a paragraph, there may be a 5-second lag between the time you're done typing that it appears on the screen. 18% of our schools indicated that there was no end test button of problems on question 59, which was the last part of the infrastructure test. There was no, the content based on the test was just part of being read from the script. There was no instructional content going in, so they were to say, click the button. So it was nothing, it was just going through the technological issues going through it. So they got to question 59, they would go to hit to submit the test, and then they would either get kicked out or they would go into a pause formation. 18% of the schools indicated that students were kicked out of the platform. Sometimes whole labs were exited from the system. That they would go into question 5, and all of a sudden everything would go down. The system would crash. 7% of the schools indicated that as soon as the students started using the tools, the computers would freeze and would not allow them to proceed to the next question. 6% of the schools indicated that the students became paused and were not able to continue participating. 2% of the schools indicated issues using touchscreen devices, Lenovo Yogas or ThinkPads, things that are devices that are approved by the state, they were having issues taking it through. So if all these issues going through, a lot of these are the same thing that we came across last year. So after we met with the IS team and the assessment and accountability team, we discussed through all these issues to make sure that there was nothing from the district side that could be resolved, but everything was easily resolved out. We reached out to other members of the state saying, how did the infrastructure go in your district? Are we alone in our challenges, or is it statewide? So these are just a few of the feedback that we received back. Most of the responses was the same. Yes, we saw the same issues that you've seen, nothing at elevated levels, but they did appear. So to me, even 15% of the schools is too many issues that I would have been very concerned if it was 90%, but 18, 19 is definitely enough to indicate that there is some caution going in. The next steps happened is that we went ahead and provided the feedback to the FDOE and the AIR platform. We completed the post-infrastructure trial survey, and I emailed a separate issue log to both the state and to AIR. I received a phone call this afternoon from FDOE, and we talked about some of the issues, and they indicated that yes, they were received, that they did hear multiple issues from the same thing, and that they were addressing it with the company, that they are ensuring that they are going to work on resolving issues in 8 instructional days. From a district point of view, the communication, the trial went exactly as planned going in. If you take out the platform issues, the communication plan, we had the email chain of test coordinators. We are using the Remind app. I don't know if you guys have seen that with the Remind app. I know our schools use it from teacher to parent to teacher-student communication. We were able to communicate with every test coordinator, our IS team, our district-level staff, and get messages out within 2 to 3 seconds and have mass communication going. And so that's pretty much our infrastructure right. Like we said, we still have major concerns with the platform.
We do too. Ms. Almond.
Thank you. I have a comment, Sarah, on the email address, the testing questions.
Yes.
Unless you look really closely at it, you don't see the underscore. So what does it look like on the website? I have not gone to that.
Okay, let me pull it up real quick.
Thank you. Because I'm afraid if someone thinks there's just a space that you may not get the email.
Okay. It's a hyperlink, and I believe it is a hyperlink. So
okay, so you'll get it. What if they choose to just copy it, type it themselves?
If they copy it will go in directly. But what I'll do is in parentheses, I'll go ahead and have it without the hyperlink attached to it.
Thank you.
That would be easily done.
Thank you.
Sarah, I have a question. You were able to ascertain that we were at 50% capacity with our internal computer capacity. Mm-hmm. Did the state of Florida come up with any similar capacity examples? I know not everyone tested at the exact same window, but they would know by the percentages of schools on any given day that tested to see what percentage of their platform was utilized.
No information has been released. That's why when I reached out I was curious, did Miami-Dade go at the same time as us? Because if very few districts joined in at the moment we did, and we experienced these challenges, it's going to, if you hit 100% of the state going in at the same time, it can become escalated. For example, Miami-Dade went Tuesday, and so we didn't have the bigger districts competing with the servers on the AIR platform side. But that would be something I will inquire about.
Ms. Lockhart.
I want to go back to the FSA Q&A. I think I thank you all tremendously. When you put that together last year, it was sort of at the request of parents, and we started getting a lot of the same questions, and you did an excellent job with that. And this year we're sort of ahead of the game, and I think it's going to be wonderful. Of course, this that you're presenting tonight is the parent Q&A, which will be really helpful for staff, but there is an additional staff Q&A that you've put together, right? And I want to make sure, because communication is something that we hear a lot, is an opportunity for us to improve, always. I want to make sure that all of our teachers and the folks who administer the FSA know where that FAQ is, they understand, because I think a lot of the stress last year that I've heard from some of our teachers was when students chose to minimally participate, they weren't quite sure how to handle that. And this year we've kind of addressed that in that FAQ. So could you address that?
Absolutely. We emailed on Thursday. We provided the district FAQs that were posted to principals and assistant principals. And we also provided the administrator of this, kind of the standard operating procedures that we've developed. We provided the administrative FAQ. We provided that to them on Thursday. And then on Friday, we had the opportunity to have a conference call at each instructional level. So the high school principals were all on a conference call in which we went through all of the documents with them over on the phone so that they could ask questions. We did the same with elementary on Thursday, and we did the same with middle on Friday. Both Ms. Broski and Ms. Reisner will be incorporating the elements of those documents into their training for test coordinators. They also assist in designing the training that the test coordinators present to teachers, so that that information will appear in those documents as well. I know during the conference calls it was stressed to the principals to please develop a system of communication with their teachers so that their teachers will understand and know what to do and what the best way to approach the communication from all parties will be. We will again readdress that with our principals on February 25th within our face-to-face principals meeting. So we've got some mechanisms in place to make sure that the message is delivered and shared and communicated.
I think, this board, and I don't speak for everybody, but obviously we have made it very clear over the last year now almost that we have a lot of concerns about the FSA. It looks like we're going to be going down that path again, not just from the administration, but even talking about the validity of the test itself. And we've also been very clear that we believe that these students belong to their families, not to our district. And that if individual families make a choice for their student, that our district is going to respect that choice. And so I know that not all of our staff members and all of our parents get to hear or like to participate or watch our school board meetings, but for those that have been watching, they know how clear we are about that. So with the opportunity tonight to have so many folks from our schools here, to hear it from us directly, that we have an expectation as a board that our families who may choose to minimally participate will be treated respectfully. And we're not doing sit and stare, and it's just really important, I think, that our families understand that we support them regardless of their decision, and that our teachers and administrators know that we support them in following the law. So it's a tough situation, but I think we've struck a balance with the help of our attorney. I'm waiting to see if she starts to get nervous. I think we're okay. Sure, okay.
Ms. Schaffner.
Kelly, we did the trial last year with the FSA, and was it the same situation, a 3-day trial period, and we only did partial, across the state?
Last year, it was 1 date that went through, and there were no issues apparent going into it. And
so it doesn't look like this is going to be any better.
Correct. They do have, like I said, they do have 8 days. At least this time, we have the issues going in that they could get up and get into the front of it and hopefully begin to resolve the issues before we go into the test. Last year, there was no reported issues until day 1 of the test, that they had no reaction time. So it is of hope that now they acknowledged it, they have the statements, and the programmers are going back, making sure all the systems are good to go by the 29th. We hope.
But when you change code,
yes, there's always
another beta test site you need to do, and so we're still trying to validate.
More options too.
Thank you so much. Dr. Griffin.
Sarah, I have a quick question. On slide 7, you said there were 68 schools that participated. Is that in Central Florida?
No, it's every school in our district participated.
Okay, that's what you said. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, board members? Okay, great. Thank you so much, ladies. Now we're up to Derek Jensen.
I had a...
Ms. Lockhart.
No, I'll hold it. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Board members, Mr. Derek Jensen, project manager for XQ Super High School, is going to give you an update. As you know, we submitted our first round application, and thank you for your support and participation in that event, and would like to orient everyone to what's been happening with the XQ Super High School and next steps for Seminole County Public Schools.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
It is my pleasure to be here tonight to speak to you and update you on the status of our XQ Super School Project application. As we discussed in the December board session, the XQ Super School Project is a nationwide competition in which teams of people from around the country are trying to reimagine and redesign high school. Over the culmination of this year-long application process, and at the very end, the competition will select 5 winning teams to receive $10 million grants and realize the vision they have for their super school. The heart and soul of our XQ team in Seminole County are our students. We've been working closely with a group of student representatives from our high schools to really get their input and ideas for what the high school experience should look like. And throughout this entire process, as they've met weekly over months, sacrificed their personal time to participate in this project, one theme has emerged loud and clear, and that is that our students want to make a difference in their schools, in their communities, and in their world, and they really view school as a platform for them to make that difference. So with this in mind, our students came up with the idea of SCI, and SCI stands for Problem Solving Incubator. And at this school, students would solve problems in the community to learn and master the benchmarks they're expected to know before they graduate. They'd work closely with teachers as mentors and collaborators to identify problems in their community and then work with them holistically, so they're not learning in discrete courses. They're learning all the different subject areas, all the different standards through finishing these projects in collaboration with their teachers. And we submitted this application, this final version of the application, on Wednesday of last week with the students in attendance for SCI. The students worked incredibly hard on this application, and they created a variety of media materials for it, one of which is a commercial to kind of showcase their enthusiasm and passion for change. And I want to share that with you right now.
I don't learn as much from school as I should.
School prepares us for a world that's different than what we're actually living in.
Students are labeled a number. These students that are not getting the attention they need to learn and thrive in the real world.
Because in the real world, you do need to deal with peers no matter where you go, no matter what career you have.
I feel in a way it's preparing me for the real world, but it's not a real world I like.
I want to solve disunity within the community and cultural prejudice. I want to solve racial inequalities within the United States.
I want to solve discrimination.
I'm going to solve racial inequality and fix equal opportunities so it's more equal.
This is what helps everyone. This is how things get changed.
So I think it's really evident the passion of our students being conveyed in that commercial they put together. So as I said, we submitted our application, our initial application, on Wednesday of last week. And right now we're kind of in a holding pattern because on April 1st, the Committee for XQ will select up to 200 national semifinalists for this award. And after they select those 200 semifinalists, we'll move into a final design phase where the school will have to be conceptualized and imagined and planned very specifically for a final deadline in August, where they will announce the 5 winners of the Super School Prize. But we fully expect that our team will be recognized as one of those national semifinalists, and as so, we're getting a head start on preparing for that part of the application. And to do so, we're going to work heavily with teachers in the community. That includes our Seminole County teachers, our Seminole County parents, our university partners in the area, local businesses, local government individuals, entities, to really plan that school. And leading that entire charge and serving on every panel will be our student leadership once again. We're going to have a very large and diverse group of students who are all collaborating to realize this vision for a future high school in Seminole County, kind of continuing our trajectory of student choice and personalization and e-pathways.
Thank you so much for your leadership. It's wonderful news.
Oh,
Any
thank
other
you.
questions?
And for your passion, that passion, when you were with the students the other day, it was very obvious. And the students picked right up on it. They were just so involved in it. I think you've done a tremendous job. And I know you had a team that worked with you, but you are the leader of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Thank you.
There was one more thing. One more thing. So you had a video that you showed on Wednesday that I think Jed did. Where's Michael Lawrence? There he is. And I don't know what that's called, when the hand draws a whiteboard. So cool. And it was narrated by a Lake Mary High School student, I believe.
It was.
If there's a way that we can share that with the community, I was blown away by that. And it was just very impactful. And I think it really helped to, not that the commercial wasn't, because it was great, but that in particular, I think really impacted me and sent the message of what it is that you're really trying to accomplish. So do we have that on our Facebook page or on YouTube, or where do we have that people can watch?
I would be happy to make that available for the public, ma'am. I'll work with Michael, and we'll put that on our various presences.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Great. Moving on to focused on student achievement.
Here they come.
We need to have them in a chair. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin, Dr. Calderon, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to update you on the progress of one of our really exciting initiatives this year. We're going to spend a few minutes this evening talking with you about kindergarten coding and the exciting progress that we've made with this initiative. We're very proud of the accomplishments and the progress that have been made to date, and we're excited tonight to share with you a couple of teacher perspectives and also a couple of student perspectives on this effort. And I want to stress again at the outset, as I did at the last board meeting when we talked a little bit about CS 2020, that this initiative has been a great partnership between multiple departments at the ESC and our schools. Dr. Cummings and Dr. Dellinger worked with us very early on to begin explaining to our school administrators and our teachers why we needed to move in this direction. And we had a great team of district staff and kindergarten teachers and then elementary technology experts who worked together to put the instructional plan for kindergarten coding together. So again, I think this is another tremendous example of the power of collaboration in our own district and what we're able to accomplish together. So in terms of the vision for this project, kindergarten coding is really the first step in our CS 2020 journey. And again, for those who aren't familiar, under the Computer Science 2020 plan that was shared with the board at our last meeting, over the next 4 school years, we'll put the infrastructure in place to be teaching computer science to all students in all grade levels, pre-K through 8, and with an expansion of pathways available to high school students in grades 9 through 12. And when this group began talking last school year, we really believed that a key to this initiative to demystifying computer science is starting early. And so Dr. Griffin and Dr. Cody challenged us to just get started with kindergartners and find a pathway for young students to begin studying computer science. Our group was also very committed to aligning the instructional product to the standards. We wanted this to be well connected to literacy and numeracy standards so that computer science instruction supports all of the core work that's already going on in our kindergarten classrooms. And finally, the instructional materials for kindergarten coding are aligned to many of our e-pathway skills for future-ready graduates. That's our 12 skills that we want to focus on over the next several years. And so we're really laying the foundation for that model with this initiative. I think another key pillar of this entire initiative has been the notion that we want to ensure that there are no barriers to accessing computer science, which can be a pretty complex discipline and sometimes may feel very distant to some types of students and also to many adults who haven't had the opportunity to code or program before. And so we really want all students and all staff to understand why computer science is important, why it's imperative that we teach it to our students, and we want to empower all students to understand how computer science fits in with their study of math, with their study of science, with their study of ELA, and how these very critical skills will benefit them after high school. So I'm pleased now to introduce Nicolina Wilson, who's the teacher on assignment who coordinated the work of the writing team and also led the professional development training for our kindergarten teachers. And she's going to give you an overview of the work that's gone on to date.
I'll try again. Okay, good evening. I want to talk a little bit about the professional development that we provided to kindergarten teachers for this specific initiative. We had the opportunity to train over 260 kindergarten teachers between the months of August and October. I, along with the Pathways team and, like Jason mentioned, the Department of Teaching and Learning and IS support, we worked together to train these teachers and gave them 6 whole hours of training where they could get into the weeds of the curriculum and really feel comfortable by the end of the day of training with the curriculum that they were going to provide to the students. And you can see the teachers being really interactive with everything that was going on. Ms. Schaffner, you came out to the training and saw the teachers all standing up and being robots, and everyone really got engaged with the curriculum, and I think that really has a lot to do with this success. So we do think that we could have this professional development opportunity for all of our kindergarten teachers to really support this initiative. And we want to talk a little bit about the curriculum as a whole. And as Dr. Weissong also mentioned, it was all built by Seminole County staff. The teams up at the district, as well as teachers out at the schools, wrote the lessons from scratch, aggregated resources that are free, that are out there for students to learn coding, and found the developmentally appropriate level for our kindergartners. And that was really what the teachers were able to connect with during that training. The entire first unit, which is a few lessons, and the teachers have taken it and run with it, and you're about to hear those stories, teach them and reinforce the things they're already learning in kindergarten, like left and right. They do a lot of coder says, program each other, program the teacher, physical movement and things that they're already learning in kindergarten. Then they move to the B-bots, where they can transition that physical programming to an actual object and program it, and it has just skyrocketed the opportunity for students to learn these different standards in a way that they're also programming, and the programming is now becoming second nature to learning all those things like directionality, math problems and things like that. And then the third unit, which we're just starting to begin to see in our schools, is really getting into those iPads where they're using the Bbot app as well as Scratch Junior to now tell their story on a medium that they can use to tell that. And it's really getting exciting to transition to that digital programming. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cummings and Dr. Dillinger.
So, with that said, we're excited to have Mrs. Carrie Hatton, who is a kindergarten teacher at Keith Elementary, where Mr. Pete Gaffney is the principal. Mrs. Hatton is here tonight to share 2 of her students with us. She'll give us a brief journey of the implementation of coding into her kindergarten classroom, and then have her students share with you Bbots and iPads with Scratch Junior. We have Levi Knight and Brody Bell, and I'll turn it over to Mrs. Hatton, and then the boys will share with you.
Thanks for having me this evening. If I seem a little nervous, I'm used to being in front of a classroom of 5- and 6-year-olds. When Mr. Gaffney approached our team and said we'd need to go to a training on
Could you please bring your mic closer to your mouth? Thank you.
When Mr. Gaffney mentioned that we'd need to attend a training, we were a little hesitant, not sure what it all would involve, but once we got to the training, we were pleasantly surprised with how well the training was prepared. The lessons were easy to follow, and we couldn't wait to get back into the classrooms and implement it with our students. Some of us were so eager we went home even though it was the summer, and we tried to find supplemental materials to go along with the curriculum. We also have had the opportunity at school for our grade level professional learning communities to have coding as our topic. So we meet once a month. We discuss strategies that are working with the program, tips and tricks that we're finding, other resources that we're able to find. So it's been a great collaboration with our team. Mr. Gaffney had attended one of our PLCs, and he saw how enthusiastic we were and asked how he could support us. And we each got an Apple TV installed, which has been very helpful because even though the county provided 6 iPads per school and the other necessary materials, it's a bit tricky with scheduling with 80 students, and our classes. So to be able to have at least one iPad in the classroom and then project it up onto the whiteboard, the students, can still enjoy and participate in the program on a pretty regular basis. We've also had time to discuss with one another about, as I mentioned earlier, about what's worked and what hasn't. So an example would be some of the lessons were a little bit longer, so we talked about, well, we have to chunk them into smaller parts. So we've been very successful in being able to kind of have stopping points where it's not too choppy and the students are still learning. The students are engaged in the classroom. They love doing the coding lessons from day one when I introduced the little robot dance movie that was helping them with left and right. Right away it was, can we watch that again? Can we watch that again? So also at the end of the day, if we have any free time, it's, can we take out the iPads and play the Bebop or the Foos? So they're thoroughly engaged and excited to be using the program. The Bebots, they like to program the little Bebot, and you'll get to see that in action pretty soon. Students are also so excited that they're going home asking parents to download some of the apps and playing at home, so that's encouraging to hear. So tonight, one of the activities that we do to incorporate our language arts skills within it, we track our students' progress with our sight words. So we have the students use the Bebot, and they have to go to different sight words and talk about the algorithm, and one student is the programmer, one is the algorithm recorder, so you'll get to see that in action.
Could one of the students tell us what algorithm is? This blows me away. How many of you were using the word algorithm when you were 5 years old?
I got it. Here you go. An algorithm is a set of instructions that a computer needs to follow an algorithm.
Good job.
So we have 4 sight words that we've written down, and we have our cards. And one little tip that we found as a kindergarten team, we here at Keith have lanyards. So this we made, instead of the little hats that they wear with their coding jobs, they get to wear badges like the teachers. So, who's going to be my algorithm recorder? And you're going to go to which word?
Go.
New program? Okay, you get to do that. goes up. How is Bebop going to get up to go? We have a really long algorithm. So sometimes the algorithm is really short. This one happens to be really long. It's doing a great job. We need more forwards. Okay. There you go. Can you tell us what your job is?
To press the buttons on the Bebot.
Which is called?
Programmer.
We found too, a little tip would be for the students then to collect the cards, put them in order instead of having to try to look across the floor.
Those of you who can't see, he knows what he's doing. Here he goes.
And you got it. So that's just one of the activities of many that we use in the classroom to practice the coding and to practice the algorithms. So thank you.
Great job, guys. So cool. Mom and Dad. Good job. Mom and Dads, wave your hands. I know you're so proud. That was so cute.
I want to know what Mom and Dad's reaction was when he came home and he said, I learned about algorithms today in kindergarten. Shock, right?
And so now to conclude, we have another teacher here with us tonight, Linda Roche from Stenstrom Elementary School, and she's going to tell about her story and journey.
Good evening. I think that's a pretty tough group to follow right there. They pretty much summed it up. My name is Linda Roche, and I like to think of myself as the Chief Operating Officer of Room 408 at Stenstrom Elementary, where I have the pleasure to work with 18 curious kindergartners who do know, by the way, that they are computer scientists. When I was asked to serve on the kindergarten writing team, I really kind of thought, I don't have much to offer and I don't know much about coding, but as we began our work, I began to become very excited and could see all the possibilities of how this could naturally fit into our classrooms. I also had the unique opportunity to be in a room full of my peers and listen to what they had to say about something I had created. That was a new spot for me to be in, and I'm glad to say they were very, very excited themselves. And as you can see, it's just taking off. In my own classroom, my students have had opportunities to learn the concepts of left and right like never before. They have a good reason now for understanding those concepts. They see algorithm possibilities everywhere. They're often seen saying, we can write the algorithm for that. Matter of fact, we've written a book, which you all will get a copy of later on, that has a lot of algorithms that we think are our finest collection. They use the word algorithm naturally in their everyday language, just like the words snack and recess. And in the book, there are algorithms for snack and recess, two of our most important parts of the day. We also use our BBOTs and our iPads as part of our everyday instruction. We've taken some things out and replaced it with this. Just some examples are, on the mat, as you've seen here, the children will have teen numbers. They have to draw a card that has a double 10 frame and figure out what that number is. And then they have to program BBOT to land on that spot. There are opportunities for differentiation. My children can go over and choose the packet of cards that I have prepared for them. And in reading, they have the choice between CVC words or CCVC words, and they have to sound out the word and then program BBOT to go to that particular card. The most exciting thing for me is that every child is engaged. Every child is applying their knowledge of the standards. It's a fun and easy way to link what they need to learn and make it fun and relevant and hands-on. Time and time again, the kids land on the right spot. We'll sit and watch them as they're programming, and you're thinking, there's no way they're going to land on that right spot, and they do it time and time again. And when they see they're not going to be on the right spot, they will often say, I know I'm not getting there, but I'm going to debug that. So that's another bit of their language that they've developed. Now, the kindergarten coding team is continuing to ask for input from the teachers all across the county so that revisions and additions can be made and that we can expand the activities for these young coders. We are also working on the addition of a culminating project that will showcase the learning that is happening all over Seminole County in kindergarten classrooms. My personal journey with coding continues. I was asked to serve on the CS 2020 committee, and most recently, I've been asked to serve on the first grade writing team. So now it appears that I get to add another title to my role as Chief Operating Officer. I'm now the CCO, or the Chief Coding Officer. And that is an algorithm I enjoy writing. Thank you.
That's
wonderful.
Great.
Thank
you so much for sharing.
Dr. Griffin and board members, thank you for challenging us to collaborate, to build this innovation, and just very exciting tonight to see our students in action, to see our teachers inspiring them, and all the great work going on with this initiative out in our schools. So thank you.
Well, and teachers, thank you, because it's more than just your teams collaborating. I was at Midway Elementary on the floor with the kindergartners playing with BBOTs this week, and the kids collaborate. They know how to communicate at a higher level than I've seen in years past. And there's such cooperation. It's not the competition. They really want to raise each of their classmates up. So I applaud everybody on the team, especially the teachers who are willing to jump into this because it's paying off. We saw the children leave that classroom to go to lunch, and instead of saying, walk down the hall and stop at the corner, the teacher goes, you can walk until you hit the vortex. These are not common words that are normally used in a kindergarten classroom, but it makes all of the students feel like they're such success. So thank you.
It's a whole new status, isn't it? Kindergarten. Thank you for what you're doing for us, for kids.
And thank you, students and parents, for sharing them with us. We appreciate seeing them here this evening. Dr. Griffin, do you have a recommendation on your consent agenda?
Yes, I do, Madam Chair, that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and second. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Motion. Karen, second.
You got it? Okay. And Dr. Griffin, student disciplinary hearing dispositions.
Yes, Madam Chair, that the School Board of Seminole County approve the student disciplinary recommendations from January 25th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion or questions? Seeing none, God bless you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to board member committee comments. If you've represented our board on any committees since our last board meeting, if you could please update us. Member Bauer.
No comments, thank you.
Vice Chairman Lockhart.
Yes, I have. The insurance committee meeting met actually, I think, the very next day after our last board meeting, and we started working. I'm looking for Katie Murphy. I saw her earlier. Katie's our secretary, and she doesn't. And Thomas Bugos is also here. I think I saw him. Thomas, is he not going to raise his hand, or did he leave? I don't know.
He's in the very back. Very bad.
Oh, you're hiding. Hi. We had a great group come to the insurance committee meeting. We started working on the, believe it or not, the 1819 plan incentives, because we want to go ahead and get those to the board and have us being able to prepare those. And so there's a lot of good input, a lot of great information from our team, from Cigna, from our consultant at Highland. Just really collaborative meeting. It went very well. I have a couple of things that I'd like to bring up that are district related, that don't really fall under a committee assignment necessarily, but I think now is probably a good time to bring them up. One of the things that I've picked up on throughout this process as we've been negotiating, or as our team has been negotiating, is that there isn't a real clear, in my mind, communication strategy for us to be following the different articles that are being covered at which meetings and what gets proposed when, and who holds the monkey for different things. So I thought I'd share with you, this is something that'll be familiar to Mr. Bauer. At Seminole State, they use this spreadsheet that's presented to the Board of Trustees at each meeting that really helps to. And Jill, did you keep yours? You have yours, don't you? Okay. Rita, would you like one?
The ones we get at the college are a lot smaller.
I know. I asked for these to be on 11 by 17 because we get them on like 8.5 by 11, and they're 2-point font, and you can't read them. So you'll see that each article has a number, and its title is associated with it. And then you have the date that it was proposed, and then who, over on the far right column, who is reviewing that article at that time. So as a Board of Trustees, we can get a really quick snapshot of what it is that's being bargained, who's holding the monkey at that point in time, and then everybody's on the same page about where we are. I think we get great updates verbally from our staff, and every once in a while we have an opportunity to, if we go into an executive session, to discuss specifics. But I love this layout, and I think it really helps to keep a clear focus on exactly where we are at any given point in time. So I just wanted to provide it for you all to review it, see if it's something that you think we could implement here, if you think it would be useful for us, that then our team could use to update us as well.
Ms. Almond.
Member Lockhart, if you could tell us what these little acronyms stand for, like CCNTR and UFF and TA.
UFF is their
TA.
Well, UFF is their union. I think TA is probably agreement. That's the date that they tentative agreement. Okay. And we can use our own acronyms. This is just an example.
No, I just was curious for here and how it applied.
Right. So I think it would just be, it would be helpful for me to be able to look at that in a snapshot and know exactly where we are. Because one of the things that I had to ask about recently, and I don't know, Mr. Russi, if you want to come to the microphone or not to help me out with this, but one of the things that I had asked about is, well, where were we with the supplement language? Because we talked about that. And I didn't hear anybody talking about the supplements. I said, well, what about the supplements? Because it wasn't written anywhere and it wasn't being discussed anywhere. And so sometimes I think when things aren't written and they're not in front of us all the time, we're either not aware of them or we forget about them or they somehow get dropped. So can you tell me where we are with that specific issue? Because that was a concern of mine, was the increase in supplements.
And as I shared earlier in the PowerPoint that I showed earlier, right now the language that was proposed was that the extracurricular and seasonal supplements would increase by this, basically annually, by the percentage of increase that teacher salaries increase.
And that's something that we proposed that we got a response back from, or?
It was something that our team proposed. We have not heard a response yet on that particular item.
Okay, that's the kind of thing I want to be able to keep on top of, because even though we don't negotiate directly, we need to kind of know where we are. So anyway, again, it's for your review and consideration, and if there's consensus to ask staff to do something like this, I think it'd be great.
Thank you.
Is there any further input from any other board members? I'm comfortable with having staff review this because really you're in those meetings and we're not. So the format for a public school system is probably different than a state college system, but any way to increase the communication and to make sure that we stay on top of all of the needs and the wants, I think is very important. And
look at this.
If we document it, we know we measure it, and then we're held accountable, so that's good.
Right. They could look at this and adapt it to Seminole.
Is there consensus on this board to ask Dr. Griffin to bring it to his team?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Griffin.
Thank you. The other thing that I'd like to ask about and just ask for an update on was from our last open discussion board work session, we talked about opportunities for working conditions, perks, things that we might be able to do for our staff. And we talked about policy 5.30 and how folks who live outside of our county, staff members, could bring their students to school in Seminole County Public Schools regardless of where they teach, or if they don't teach at a school-based site, maybe they teach at they work at the ESC or in some other capacity. So can you give us an update on where we are with that?
Certainly. Ms. Beeman and I actually met after the work session, and we've drafted some language that we'll be bringing to cabinet and eventually to the board. I also called, had a good conversation with Dr. Jenkins over in Orange County, make sure she was comfortable with that. And basically what the language will say, something to the effect that if an employee who works in Seminole County Public Schools but does not reside in Seminole County Public Schools would have the option on a capacity available basis to have their students attend our schools.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. What's the time frame, do you think, on getting that to us for revision, for adoption?
I think we could probably bring 5.3 at the March meeting, Ms. Beeman.
And what was Dr. Jenkins' reaction to it?
She was perfectly okay. They already have quite a few students. Their teachers, they reside in Seminole County, but they work over there. They have some students over there, so she was very open.
Good.
And as far as the timing, we would, prior to obviously bringing any draft language, do a notice of revising the policy, bring that for the actual language for preliminary approval. I believe we can have that by the March 15th meeting.
Thank you.
The greatest challenge with it is not so much that part of the language, it's going to be the process, because the space available is going to be very, very important. I don't want employees to be disappointed, but we have to have capacity in the schools in order for students, and we spoke about programs and transfers and all those pieces.
Okay. That would also include Lake in Volusia too, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Ms. Salmon?
I was thinking about the timeline, and I would think that the middle school and high schools are starting to select their schedules. So let's say we move forward with this and we all approve it. it's likely that this year there won't be much movement because it may be late to get what you really want to have, and then the following year it may be much better for opportunity.
I think the ones who, the teachers and staff who would jump on it first, for example, an elementary teacher who has a rising sixth grader, who's concerned about having to send your child back to whatever county. But I think we will see some movement this year. Again, it's all going to be dictated by capacity.
We also have legislation that could affect this whole thing because they're talking about crossing any district lines anywhere in the state. So that could also have an effect on it as well.
Absolutely.
So we would not provide transportation.
That's correct.
Yeah. I think it's important that they understand that.
Ms. Beeman, could you tell me if our amending policy 5.30 would preempt state legislation?
No, we would, if the law changes, we would have to make sure that our policy complies with the law.
Right, but if in our policy we allow employees to bring their students here based on a capacity basis, I guess I'm asking, if we don't know the answer, you can find it out, but would those students would fill the slots, and then the statute would come into play, and we would look at capacity after our employees have their spots?
Well, if I understand the question correctly, as long as whatever we do is not in conflict with what the statute ends up being, if that's where we go, the policy won't be affected. If after our policy is in effect, there are some changes by statute that we then need to address, we can then go back and address. So as long as we are not in conflict with what ultimately happens, we can move this process along. Okay. And at that point, we can look at it and address it as appropriate.
Okay. All right, great.
Anything else, Ms. Lockhart?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I also wanted to see if we could address recess. There's been a lot of discussion lately because we've been talking about the need to adhere to the, and I see our two elementary executive directors like, oh. I just want to get clarification from you because now there's a lot more conversation about it than there has been. I just want to know, when did Seminole County Public Schools start making recess mandatory, and how, is it related to this talk in Tallahassee or no, or what can you tell me about all that?
Right, it has nothing to do with what's going on in Tallahassee. This board made that decision back in 2013, I believe, asking for 20 minutes of recess every day, including days that students have PE. I took some time yesterday, just did a quick ERIC search, and I just want to read a little bit of the research because there's a lot of questions out there. I haven't asked some questions. I know all of you have too. Real quick, I'm not going to go obviously in detail with this, but here's a major study that says fourth grade students who participated in direct physical activity during recess had significantly higher concentration scores than those students who sat quietly in the library during recess. Both studies that measured academic behavior found a positive relationship between recess and on-task behavior. And it goes on to the details, but the essence of the research is that even if it reduces academic time, it increases quality time because of attention issues with elementary schools. Dr. Dellinger and Dr. Cummings, I think you're prepared to make a quick statement on recess, but I know they've worked with all the principals. A recent reminder went out, and I think that is what confused things at the schools because of what's going on in Tallahassee. But regardless of Tallahassee's decision, this board has you've been partially funding this since 2013.
And what is the amount of the funding that we have provided for every elementary school? So
it's the equivalent of 0.4 FTE, so whatever that works out for that person's salary.
Yeah. Where's Mr. Kelly?
This is the third year that the recess has been supported by millage funding. So each school has a 0.4 recess assistant that was hired for their school to support teachers and students at recess. So we did have a reminder conference call with our principals just to make sure that every child was getting recess every day in all of our elementary schools recently. So this is the third year that that position has been funded at the schools to support teachers with recess.
And another concern that I think all of us have heard is that it's used as a punishment. You didn't finish your work, so you can't go out to recess. And I think it's counterproductive to do that because those are the kids that probably need to go out and
they're going to wiggle in the classroom if they don't get a chance to go out and run some of that exercise.
It was shared that in some cases, students were asked to sit out of recess or given a timeout during their recess time. So we did reiterate with our administrators that we did not want students to miss recess as a consequence for a classroom behavior.
And Ms. Schaffner, I can tell you I was in an elementary school last week, I believe, and they were having a class meeting to revisit what rewards and punishments the class would have and in what order. And there was, in the past, something about recess. And it was made very clear from the teacher that recess is off the table. So it was neat to see the students engaged in giving their input of how they wanted to direct their class in the future, whether they wanted the phone call home to mom. Some didn't want that at all, no. Or an email or a conference. So I think it was good. Thank you from the executive director level for reaching out to the schools to make sure that it was consistent communication and we could get back to doing what's right for the children. So thank you. Thank you.
I have one last thing.
Okay.
Another piece that I've been hearing from parents a lot, and as a parent who took the 5 Essentials survey, I clicked and followed the link, and I realized at no point was there ever an opportunity for me to really verify that I was in fact a parent at that school. So that kind of put off a little flag in my head that, not that anybody in our community would bother to take the time to fill out a survey for a school that they don't even have a student attending, but if you really wanted to, you could. And there's that balance between anonymity and veracity, you know, making sure that it's valid. But some of the concerns that were raised that I think are valid and need to be addressed, anyone can fill it out. There was no place in the comments section for someone to write a free response, because it's particularly if you have a child in high school where your child has 7 teachers, you may have 6 glowing reviews and one thing that you just really think needs to be addressed, and you didn't have an opportunity to differentiate that. And then to have a different survey for elementary, middle, and high school, because the issues and concerns at each of those levels could be somewhat different. I know we had teacher surveys and we had student surveys, but I'm just talking about the parent survey. So have you heard those concerns? Are we looking at those? Is there anything that we can do? What are the thoughts on that?
Just a few thoughts, and then certainly if assessment wants to come up and say anything. I think, first of all, we're going to great lengths to make sure that there's no data sharing and that the surveys are completely anonymous. I think that was important to our community, and we looked at the survey instrument. That's going to happen. I think as far as multiple people taking the survey, there is a margin of error. It is statistically valid and reliable, which we really could not say about our former survey. That's not really a homemade survey, but there's a margin of error built in to every survey instrument. I think the best thing for all of us, of course, it's our first full year doing this. I think the devil's in the details, and I think we have to look at the data, because I think any type of survey, it's about trending, it's about trends. It's not about the outliers, but it's about looking to make sure that we have the best instructional environments, the safest environments, and then if there's some additional work that we need to do. I spoke to one parent who I know very well who took the survey, and she expressed a similar concern. She'd like to write something. So I said, go ahead and email us, or, you know, there's so many ways that people do communicate with us. So she was going to go ahead and do that. But I think that was probably the biggest concern that I've heard, is that people can't write comments in there. And of course, comments is just a narrative. It's not scientific. This is a scientific survey, but we could encourage it if there was a place where we wanted to have some input. I think very much to the way we're doing the testing question type thing, we could have a place for families to express some input to us.
I think that's important too. I really do, for them to be able to make comments.
I did hear from quite a few parents that had the same thoughts. So when you said we're looking for trends, that is a trend that I saw. So I know with the survey that's owned by an outside entity, maybe that survey we're not allowed to alter it to skew their validity of it, but there might be a better way for us to take additional input from those who wish to share it.
And I certainly don't know, but there may be a way for us like to put a little SurveyMonkey link at the end of the survey or something. But I think we'll look at the data this year and decide as a board what we want to do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Lockhart? Okay.
Thank you.
Member Almond.
There, at the Children's Cabinet, there were two presentations. The first one was from the Orlando Repertory Theater, and the week prior, I had taken a backstage tour, and I was very pleased to know that in addition to their regular performances, they have sensory-friendly performances for students and adults with Asperger's, autism, and any other sensory things. March 13th, 5:30 p.m., Skippy John Jones. And they dim the lights, they lower the sound, they don't have as many people in the audience, they do whatever they can. They work with the Autism Society of Greater Orlando in that partnership. Second presentation was Seminole County Sheriff's Office, Mark Rader, Civil Citations, and I emailed all of you the attachments and PowerPoint on that. So that's my report for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Member Schaffner.
Just quickly, well, two things actually. Mardi Gras was put on by the foundation, and that was at a Gift for Teaching Seminole for any teacher who hasn't been there. It's a great place for teachers. It's a free store where you can shop for free. I love it. And that was a fundraiser that they had for Mardi Gras. We had a very good crowd. Lots of businesses are now supporting that Gift for Teaching Seminole, and we're very proud of what's going on over there. The other thing, the Employee of the Year event, where we are going to be recognizing one employee from each of our schools, is going to be held on March 8th. And then I think that's at Lake Mary High School. And then on March 17th, the Teacher of the Year. One teacher from every one of our schools is going to be represented. And we're going to be announcing the Seminole County Teacher of the Year at that event on the 17th of March.
Great, thank you. And the committees that I represented this board on since our last meeting, the first was Central Florida Leadership Partnership, and I left both an email, PowerPoint, and the booklets of what we discussed. It was very regional in basis, talking about international trade, transportation, and I think these are real powerful meetings because they're well attended in the audience by a lot of business leaders, but obviously every single city and county and school board are represented within our region. So it's a great way for us to collaborate, and rather than reinvent the wheel, is to share best practices. I also went to our annual board retreat for the Orlando Science Center, and one of our largest initiatives this year that I really hope we can work together to get the news out to our families is we want to broaden the access for all to experience the wonderful learning opportunities at the Orlando Science Center. So starting this year, if a family has an EBT card, they can actually attend all the exhibits for the family for a price of $3. So, and we're going to be able to try to raise additional funds for scholarship opportunities as well. So I know we're very passionate about STEAM in our schools, as is the Science Center. They've just embarked on a major capital campaign, and we'll be going through a major renovation, so it won't be the same Science Center we've known for years. So it'll really give our students an opportunity to keep up with our kindergarten students that were here this evening, because that whole Science Center will be remorphed. Also had our Central Florida Public School Boards Coalition meeting, and I'm really looking forward to our next meetings as we collaborate with the 13 other districts when we share best practices. And I know you all were in attendance, so I don't need to repeat that. And today, Dr. Griffin and I attended the mayors and managers meeting. It was held at the city of Castleberry, and the topic of discussion was the renovation of downtown Castleberry and the apartments that they're bringing online and restaurants, and it looks beautiful. We're really excited about that. So that's the information that was shared there.
Great.
Okay, moving on, Ms. Lockhart, if you could share for public comment.
Sure, absolutely. I believe this is printed on all of the forms that everyone fills out to speak, but that's the public input segment of our meeting. The public input segment of the meeting is provided to allow the public to present specific matters to the school board for consideration and referral to the superintendent and staff for inquiry and action, or to address specific items on the agenda. The public input segment of the meeting is not open to presentation of campaign issues by political candidates or others, student disciplinary actions, pending employee disciplinary matters, or pending litigation. Policy 9.63, civility and conduct of parents, other visitors to schools, and school district facilities and district employees, states that it is not the intent of the school board to deprive any person of his or her right of freedom of expression. It is, however, the intent of the board to promote mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct on the part of members of the public appearing before the board. The school board expects positive communication and will not permit disruptive, volatile, hostile, or aggressive communications on the part of speakers. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and must clearly identify the matter to be addressed on the speaker sign-up form. Speakers shall direct their comments only to the school board and may not address the audience. Speakers that do not comply with this direction will be asked to leave the lectern. The school board is pleased that you've taken the time to come to this meeting and that you are willing to make your views known or speak to issues before the board for action. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all for your patience. We had some business to conduct. I have 30 sheets for people who wish to address the board. If there are any others, there are forms on the back table. If you could deliver it to our clerk, I'd be more than happy to entertain it. And before we get to the public input, I also have some acknowledgments to acknowledge Paige Stapleton from Oviedo High School as a student. Thanks for being here, Paige. And Karen Stapleton from Oviedo High School, PTA, SAC representative, SCA, and UNISERV. Thank you so much for being here. What I will do is call 3 names in order so you can cue yourselves up, because I know some of you might be in the back, and we really want to take the time to listen to all of our speakers who are willing to take the time out of their busy schedules to be here to share with us this evening. So first, I'd like to call Nancy Ringer, second, Will Robinson, and third, Carol Knight.
Hi, I'm Nancy Ringier, 2700 Galliano Circle, Winter Park. This is my 10th year at Eastbrook Elementary as a speech-language pathologist. I am a highly qualified and highly effective employee. The 10 years that I've been here, I've noticed many, many times during the years that we are called, the employees in Seminole County are called valuable, and that we are the reason that this district is an A district. Well, talk is cheap. And it's time that you show how valuable we are to you in a way that is meaningful to us and our families. It's time to put your money where your mouth is.
Thank you for sharing. Will Robinson, Carol Knight, and then Carlos Miller. Good evening.
Good evening. William Robinson, former graduate of Hamilton Elementary, Millennium Middle, and Lake Mary High School. At Lake Mary, I was student body president, my JROTC platoon commander, record holder in multiple track and field events, and thanks to a lot of hard work, I had the opportunity to go to college, get a scholarship, and run track for a D1 program. 2 years following that, 2 years following graduation, I had the opportunity and the blessing to run for mayor of Sanford and receive 1,877 votes, even though I didn't win. I sit here on the eve of my 4th year after graduating high school, and I'm successful. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you today about, because we all know that Seminole County produces successful kids, successful adults. What I'm here to tell you about is a story behind that success. See, I had 2 parents growing up that both worked 2 jobs. Between the attention that they spent on my older 3 brothers and myself, I didn't get enough attention, but school did. I had attitude problems. I was often angry. I liked to fight a lot. I liked to pick fights. Our school system helped me get rid of those ways. I had self-esteem issues. There was times where I didn't think I would be anything better than the worst that I saw every day. Our school system helped me get self-confidence to wear red blazers and shorts now. I'm happy with myself. I know I'm good. See, it's about the little moments, like when Miss Lytle, my art teacher, let me borrow her copy of Curious George to take home and watch because I couldn't afford it. Or when Miss Elkis, my science teacher, instead of writing a referral, which was easy to do, when I acted up, she chewed me out. face to face. Or when my bus driver on Valentine's Day gave me a bag of candy. It was bus 96. I remember it just like it was yesterday. On Valentine's Day, and I was mad because none of the girls got me anything, but she thought of me. Or the lunch man, Alfred at Lake Mary, who knew that on my free lunch program that I wasn't gonna get enough to fill my belly to have a good track practice in the afternoon. He would sneak me some fries in because he cared about me. And most especially the janitor who I spoke with at a lunch detention at Lake Mary one day. When I was acted up and I was in lunch detention, and she made sure she took the time out of her day to tell me to do better in school and stay out of lunch detention. And she made me promise her that I wouldn't end up working the same job that she did. That touched me. Now see, what I'm trying to get at here is our school members, our employees, they're doing the jobs of so many other people. Therapists, they make $80,000 a year. Our employees do that. Conflict analysts, they make $60,000 a year. We do that. They do that on a daily basis.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. If you want to
finish my last comment. Teachers are our building blocks of our society. Let's give them an incentive to do better, because we're aware that they're the building blocks from the bottom up, but we know that the money comes from the top. They're here today to pressure the people above you to get them better pay. Because there's a reason why people pay more money for Sprint over Metro PCS.
Thank you,
because the service is better. If you want better service, pay the teacher.
Carol Knight, Carlos Miller, Susan Gaiman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I speak as a parent I've been parenting since 1987. I have 5 children, 2 who presently are 4th grade students at Crystal Lake Elementary. So I conducted what I'd call a social experiment via social media over the last few days. My request was simple. In the comment section, I simply stated on Facebook, in the comment section below, give me a name of one teacher that positively impacted you or molded you into the person you are today. So within minutes, hours, numerous names popped up, comments, text messages, emails. There were also descriptive words such as kind, sweet, funny, hilariously funny, encourager, greeted students with a handshake, taught me to read, patient, helped me love math, gave me tools to succeed. Then there were 2 statements that stood out. She left the next year and made a killing in real estate. What a shame for our school. He had to drive a taxi at night to make ends meet. It's amazed me in 29 years of raising children how little our society compensates our teachers. Of course, we all love the cliches. Teachers change the world, one child at a time. We thank teachers with an appreciation week. We recognize our teachers through Teacher of the Year recognitions, but how can we justify the salaries of people that influence our entire society, one child at a time? Seminole County is one of the most sought-after communities in Florida for families with school-age children. Why is that? Is it the awesome Publix grocery stores, the Orlando City practice facility, Seminole Youth Soccer, the bike trails? Maybe, but most importantly, it's the A-rated schools, which are a direct reflection of our phenomenal teachers and their dedication to their students. I'm certain everyone in this room can think of a teacher that impacted them and molded them into who they are today. Each of you can think of the traits that made that teacher amazing for you. Now think about their worth. What monetary value can you place on the impact on your life? Who you are, where you are, the kind of person you are. My children spend more time, especially today, of their waking hours with their teachers than they do with their dad and I. I've thought long and hard about where they would be if not for a Julie Drinkwater, a Cami Harger, a Tammy Uliano, a Joyce Rose, Mrs. Del Hoyo, Mrs. Miller, Stephanie Wright, Mr. Del Hoyo, Mrs. Goldman, Mrs. Burden, Mrs. Host, Miss Numbers, Coach B, Coach A, Miss B, Leanne Briatico, Mrs. Flay, Mr. Joe. But more important, question for our family is where will they be in 20 years because of these amazing educators? Although
Thank you so much. If you have that typed up, you can share that for public record. And
Yes.
share that with all the board. Thank
Yes.
you.
Do I need to end?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to end with one thing. Let us be the example. Let us provide salaries and compensation packets that exemplify the value we place on teachers in our lives and the lives of our children. Thank you for your
Thank you very much. Mr. Miller, Susan Gaiman, Louisa Hewitt. And just if any of you haven't addressed the board prior, when you start speaking, the green light will go on, and that measures your 3 minutes to speak. You'll get the warning light, the yellow light, and then your 3 minutes are up at the red light. So thank you for being here this evening.
Hi, my name's Caleb Miller. I've only worked for Seminole County for about 8 months now. I'm a bus driver. I'm not a very good public speaker, get kind of nervous, hands get kind of clammy. So I'm just gonna read what I wrote, okay? Maybe it sounded better to me, I don't know. Okay. My name's Caleb Miller. I've only been employed about 7 months with Seminole County. Not good at public speaking, but what I am good at is my job. I choose to call it a job because I cannot see myself making a career with Seminole County. I start my days at 4:30 and get home around 5:30 p.m. And every 10 days, a typical paycheck, I receive no more than $620. I had intended to make a career with Seminole County, but following this 2.25% raise for drivers with 6+ years, that's no longer the case. I have frequent talks with other drivers with more than 15 years, and after figuring what a 2.25% raise equated to, it's only a penny. I have no intentions of staying with a so-called A+ school district that only values their senior drivers at 1 penny. Board members, ask yourselves this. If after 20 years on the board you were told you were only worth 1 penny, would you still be in such favor of a 2.25% insult of a raise? Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Gaiman, Louisa Hewitt, and Norma Monsanto, please. Good evening.
My name is Susan Gaiman. I'm a school bus monitor. Most of y'all know me by Shelley, or other names you might want to call me. Okay. I've been a monitor for 5.5 years. I understand you guys have said you've given me raises, but every time you give me a raise, you take it back by charging me something else. I bring home $360 every 2 weeks. That's $720 a month. I have a family of 4 that lives off that. Can you live off $720 a month? Okay? I've had to fight for 4 years to get government housing to help me because I don't get paid enough here. I want to work here. I love my children on my bus. I was a bus driver for 12 years. I've been a monitor for 6. I have 18 years and I make $9 and something an hour. I bring home $720 a month. I make more, food stamps pays me more money than I get in my pocket from working 9 hours a day. Food stamps, I make more food stamps a month. My housing.
Excuse me, please address the board so we can hear you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just get real upset when I know that I have to, even though I work every single day, perfect attendance. I treat my children well on my bus, no complaints whatsoever. And yet, I have to go to the government that's giving y'all money to pay me to do my job, to get more money from them so I can live. That's not right. I work, actually, an 7.5-hour monitor, I'm sorry. I have a 7.5-hour monitor. I put in 37.5 hours a week. That should be sufficient to pay my bills, but it's not. I have a family of 4, and we survive off $720. I can't see any of you even making that in a week. There's no way y'all can live off that, but yet you expect us to live off that because you're 1 penny, because that's all it even comes down to, and we won't even see that because taxes is going to take that. 1 penny is all we're worth to you. That's not right.
Thank you. Louisa Hewitt, Norma Monsanto, and Tina McClory, please.
Louisa Hewitt, Oviedo, Florida, teacher.
Looking at that sign over there, I was contemplating about the dreams that brought us here. We were all brought to Seminole County because of its stellar reputation. It's a wonderful county to live in. We've raised our children here, grandchildren now. My husband's been teaching in Seminole County for, close to 30 years. And it's a big investment for all of us to be here. But our dreams that brought us here are so important, and they are magical, looking at Walt Disney's name up there. And what I want to talk about is the dreams that our students and our children have. It's really hard every day to face kids every day, and everyone in this room knows that, to motivate them. And even though our dreams of coming here and fulfilling our own may have been just a few years ago or decades ago, we get to discover new dreams every day in the eyes of our students. Compensation's important, you know that. Benefits is usually important, you know that. But I want to talk more about the intrinsic things that we need as professional educators. And what I'm talking about is more professional respect, more recognition that our time is important, more planning time so that we can have the discretion to prioritize our tasks. Many times I feel like my colleagues and myself, our hands are tied. And I know, when you do this for a while, you know what your students need. But we are so burdened by so many other things that in my heart I know this is what I should be doing, but because I'm being told, blah, 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 I gotta do that first. And I know that's not what we want here in our county. As you all fought hard for the Seminole solution, we can't stop there. We have to keep fighting and being a leader in our county. And I just wanted to stress that. It's not just about money, even though that's really important, but it's everyone here works so hard, and we just want to be valued, just like we value our kids every single day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norma Monsanto, Tina McClory, and Rachel Garzon.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
And Dr. Griffin. Norma Monsanto, and I work at Layer Elementary. I used to work in this house, which I call the big house. Now I'm gone, and I'm working at a school site, multitasking. Boy, do I multitask. Next, I'll be given a broom. That's how I look at it. But I come to you because I used to work in a private industry, made a lot of money. But when I lost my husband 16 years ago, I decided to work for the school system so that I could raise my 6-year-old daughter. She is now grown, and I have gotten older and ready to retire. But I want to let you know, what I've seen when I first arrived here was a lot of happy faces, a lot of good hearts, a lot of helping hands. I don't see that anymore. I see grief, I see bitterness and broken hearts. The only way you could fix that is to reward us with your caring kindness of giving us good raises year after year and recognizing us time after time. But you've broken us, broken our hearts. We leave bitter. Stop doing that. Stop abusing us. We need for you to care, as you say you do. Care for us in a better way than just saying thank you. We deserve much more. Thank you.
Thank you. Tina McClory, Rachel Garzon, and Morgan Flay, please. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Tina McClory. I live in Sanford. My post office box is in Lake Monroe, though. Thank you, members of the school board and Dr. Griffin, for the opportunity to speak before you, which I've never done in all my years of service. I have been a paraprofessional since 1999. I was a school employee of the year in 2007. I'm a proud mother of a Lyman alumni, a National Merit semifinalist. My son was also on the first robotics team in Seminole County, which went to the World Championship. an Odyssey of the Mind state winner, Seminole County's Geography B rep for state competition, and Math Counts team member. Thank you for the opportunities you gave my son. He asked me the other day, Mom, when are you going to retire from at least one of your jobs? You see, I've worked 2 jobs for many years to help support my family. When my husband was unemployed, my son was on free lunch with school. My answer to my son was, I'll retire at least 5 years longer than I had planned. I had to tell him for 5 years, Seminole School did not acknowledge ESP's years of service with any type of raise. Educational support personnel salaries were frozen for 5 years and had never been adjusted to the correct year of service. The teachers' salaries were released to the public recently, but the other support personnel salaries were not. Do you know the starting salaries, and are you aware of the gap in pay from the real years of service? In a training session at my school, Mark Verlinsky stated that how a child is first greeted sets his or her attitude for the day. Are you aware it is the educational personnel, including bus drivers, who are one of the first contacts with that student every day? I was reminded of that when a past student who was working her way through college asked me if I remembered her. I responded with yes, and I called her by name and I said, oh, you were in one of my intervention groups. She said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. You see, you were always there when I arrived on the bus ramp, and you were always there when I went home. She said, I had some things going on at home, and I needed something stable in my life, and you were there. Thank you, Miss McClory. I tell you this story not to boast, but to thank you for giving me the opportunity to help the future leaders of our community. I truly love my job, but on the same note, I want to thank that student who acknowledged that year of service, which was during the 5-year span. The county did not. Thank you for your time and consideration as you decide on our salaries and our families' futures.
Thank you very much. Rachel Garzon, Morgan Flay, and Noah David Lean.
Thank you very much for hearing me. This is my first time speaking as well. My name is Raquel Garzon, and I am the friend and neighbor of teachers, speech pathologists, and other education support professionals. I'm the wife of a Seminole County substitute teacher and soccer coach, and most importantly, I'm the mom of 2 children at Crystal Lake Elementary. And I want to talk about teacher compensation. Teacher compensation should be designed in a way that will not just recruit new teachers, but also retain and motivate the most quality teachers we have in our workforce. Keeping teachers with key knowledge and skills is critical to the future of our children. Close to 50% of new teachers leave the profession during the first 5 years of teaching, and 30% of teachers who do not plan to stay as teachers cite low pay for their reason to leave the profession. The risk of stagnant salaries is that it is the most experienced and skilled teachers that will have more competing and financially attractive opportunities outside of teaching that will leave. Some teachers are often unable to pay off their school loans or even afford homes in the very communities where they teach. Teachers often work 2 jobs to make ends meet. The stress and exhaustion can become unbearable, forcing the best teachers out of the profession for more lucrative positions. As I mentioned, I have 2 kids in the system, one of which requires special services or accommodations from the county since the age of 3 before even starting officially in school. Yes, the county is responsible for providing these services, but the brunt of that falls onto her teachers. And I see them there before class and after class doing what needs to be done to making sure that her needs are met, and most importantly, that she is happy and engaged in school. She's not the only one in her class with special needs that needs to be accommodated. I talk to spouses of the teachers who tell me that their teachers are working in evenings and weekends, putting in hours to prepare lessons, grade papers, or meet administrative demands placed on them outside of teaching our kids. Not only do I see these teachers before and after school, but I see them around the community where we live, at Target, buying school supplies with their own money because the school doesn't provide enough for them to buy for our children. And other times I see them in the community working their second jobs so that they can pay bills and make ends meet for their own families. And I have to tell you that they're pretty good at doing these other jobs. But this makes me sad. As a mother to kids in this county, I want and I need these teachers not only to keep teaching, but to feel good about doing it, to feel like they are providing value to the community and that they are valued by their community. Highly engaged teachers are the ones who will really make a difference in our kids, your kids, and especially to the ones that need it the most.
Thank you very much.
Enough is enough. And by the way, I'm not concerned whether my kids are ready or prepared for standardized testing. I'm concerned about whether they will be ready or prepared for life. And I need the teachers. Thank you.
Morgan Flay, Noah David Lean, and Diana Cowan. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Morgan Flay. I am a student of Seminole County Public Schools. I am 13 years old and a pre-IB engineering student at Millway Middle School, a graduate of Crystal Lake Elementary, and a future Greyhound at Lyman High School, next year participating in their engineering magnet program. I am a student of Seminole County, where I am a bus rider with safe bus drivers. I eat meals served by the cafeteria staff, and I have enjoyed time talking with several custodians whom are working in their second or even third jobs to make our school a better place. I am a student of Seminole County and have had the honor of having not one, but two Seminole County Teachers of the Year, Ms. Jamie Miller when I was in the 4th grade, and Mr. Brian Fergione last year for 7th grade civics. Surely I know a great teacher when I have one, and I have had many outstanding teachers and role models in Seminole County. I am a student in Seminole County, and I stand before you wearing these awards tonight as a representation of the time donated to the students of Seminole County schools by its teachers. Seminole County, its schools, teachers, and students continue to receive the highest of awards in many academic and non-academic areas due to unpaid, donated time by teachers and staff. For example, these awards were earned while this weekend as Millway Middle School took home the overall first place trophy in addition to numerous other awards, too many to count. My teacher, Ms. Unschreiner, devotes her time to her students each and every day in the classroom for SECME, but also on Wednesdays until after 5 p.m., Fridays until after 5 p.m., and several Saturdays from 9 to 2 for SECME, VEX, TSA, and Beta Club so her students can shine. She's just one of the many great teachers that receive disappointing paychecks and minute stipends that would be laughable in other professions. I am a student of Seminole County and can't imagine how much greater my educational experience would be if my teachers didn't have the stress of worrying about their income. I attend a Title I school with a B rating and an A+ rated school district with number one teachers making an embarrassing salary, where our state teacher salary ranks in the bottom 14% of average teacher salaries in the nation. I am a student of Seminole County, and I am a child of two Seminole County teachers. My father, having a master's degree in education, left the teaching profession after 10 years of teaching service because my mom, who is now a 19-year vested teacher, wants to be a stay-at-home mom. Her dream never came true. She was never able to stay home full-time with their biological children because my father's classroom family just didn't pay him enough. I am a student of Seminole County. I am the son of a teacher. I am one of those children getting cheated. Enough is enough. Thank you for my time.
Thank you for sharing. Noah David, Diana Cowan, and Karen Stapleton. Good evening.
Good evening. A man can either teach in Seminole County or provide for his family, but he cannot do both. He can earn a rating of highly effective and gain the respect of his peers and the loyalty and love of his students, but he still cannot provide for his family. He can grow and mature and attend countless professional developments, yet not earn an additional penny for this cumulative growth in the way that all other licensed professionals seem to. He can teach in Central Florida for almost 10 years and make barely $3,000 more annually than he did when he started in 2006. He will watch his friends in other professions flourish and prosper. He will watch and tell himself over and over, things will change, but those 10 difficult years will convince him, no, they won't. Because he cannot teach in Seminole County and support his family, he works a second job. He works this second job so he can pay the premiums on his wife's catastrophic health care plan because he can't afford the $5,000 premiums offered by his employer's so-called benefit. He works this weekend job to pay repairs on his aging Volvo, a gift from his father-in-law. He works so he can buy Christmas presents, new shoes, and diapers. He does what he has to do because he has to provide for his family. He works this second job despite having been debt-free for 3 years. He lives free of student loans, free of car payments, free of credit cards, and free of cable and Netflix and most luxuries aside from internet and a phone. But what he is not free from is fear, immense financial pressure, and stress over his family's future. He does all of this because he is loyal to a calling that has not been loyal to him. He is loyal to a profession that teases him and attempts to placate him with inconsistent bonuses that do not accumulate on an annual basis and do not allow him to save for a house or retirement or much of anything beyond survival. He does this because 10 years ago he was a young, optimistic man, a man willing to do it for the kids. But that man has a responsibility now, and that responsibility is one kid, and she calls him Daddy. A man can either teach in Seminole County or provide for his family, but not both. And at some point, after so much sacrifice, so much growth without compensation, so much blindness from those in power to the daily realities he faces, that man will make the only decision he can. For the sake of his family, he will move on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Diana Cowan, Karen Stapleton, and Judy Ning. Good evening.
My name is Diana Cowan. I've been in the county for a number of years, as many as Mr. Griffin, as many as Dee Dee Schaffner. I came here angry, and now I'm sad. I'm just sad. But let's just cut to brass tacks. Here's what I want to know. I want to know why we're not competitive with our surrounding counties. I want to know the answer to that. I want to know why Lake County can get a 6.3, or Lake County can have a raise for the last 3 consecutive years. I want to know why Orange County has a 6.3% raise plus a $1,000 bonus. We're a wealthy county. We're an A-plus county. We are doing our darndest. But you know what's even more important? And I want you all to listen to me, and I am angry. You are being short-sighted. You are overlooking the reason you are an A-plus district. You are trying every program you can possibly find and buy to tell teachers how to teach, to tell us what we should be doing, instead of recognizing the teachers who are valued, teachers who are respected, teachers who are mildly compensated once in a while are your best bet to be and stay successful. We are tired. We are demoralized. We are embarrassed for the county, and what we're embarrassed about is the fact that you are losing teachers. In our school alone, we have had over 25 new teachers in 2 years. 25, and that's actually a small estimate. I think it's actually more. These are the ones we could count up. In 2 years. You are being short-sighted. You need to listen. And Mrs. Calderon, you said that we were disrespectful at the last meeting. Excuse me. And the word around the county office was the next day how disrespectful and crass and rude the teachers were. We do hear things.
Jill, Ms. Moramus, could you please cut the mic? And I would ask that because public comment is for the board, not to address any one particular board member. If you please. Thank you.
Are you asking me to leave?
I am not.
Or are you asking me not to address particular board members?
I am. I'm asking you to address the board as a whole.
I can do that. I am just about finished.
Thank you.
Okay. We do need to be respected. For example, tonight, you have all these teachers who have worked all day. They've come because they're concerned. Okay? You didn't need to do all the business ahead of time. We just wanted our say. You could have let us have our say. We would go home to our families. We'd go home to get rested for our job tomorrow, and you could have continued with the meeting. Let's have some mutual respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Karen Stapleton, Judy, and Dan Smith. Good evening.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Griffin. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Karen Stapleton. I'm the parent of a highly effective student, a 9th grader. I'm also a highly effective teacher at a highly effective high school, Oviedo High School, in the highly effective school district, Seminole County, which is also a prestigious Central Florida school. I would like you now to be a highly effective board and give your employees the highly effective pay raise that they have earned and deserve. We've worked hard and long, and we're not asking for the moon, we're not asking for diamonds and such. We're just asking for a decent pay that we can live a decent life. Thank you, and have a highly effective evening.
Thank you. Judy, then Dan Smith, then Thomas Bugos II, please. Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin and members of the board. My name is Judy Nying. I live at 1992 Canal Road, Deltona, Florida. I work at Lake Howell High School, which is an A school, and I'm proud of that, but I'm also tired. I'm really, really tired. The employees at my school are really tired too, and we are angry, we are frustrated, discouraged, and somewhat hopeless. We don't feel respected as professionals, and we're asking, how can our students respect us when those at the highest level do not? Every employee deserves a living wage. Every employee deserves to be heard. That's why we're here tonight, tired, stressed out, and with more work to do when we get home tonight. A beaten down, broken educator is not what the taxpayers of Seminole County want for their children. All working families deserve wages that support their families, provide health care, and allow for not just the necessities of life, but the pleasures. Our economic society depends upon working families spending money. But some families' wages are used up for bare necessities. And we heard tonight that some are dependent on government assistance. We're public employees. Why wouldn't our wages be enough that we do not need public assistance? This is absurd. Over the weekend, I saw a documentary, and one of the things was a visit to Norway to look at the schools there. And the producer walked into the lunchroom. There's about 12 people in it. And he said, so how many of you work second and third jobs? They just kind of looked at each other and they're shrugging their shoulders. He says, let me put it another way. What job do you go to after you leave here? And they laughed. They said, we don't go to another job. We go shopping, we spend time with our families, we go to cafes because we're teachers. This is absurd. So I ask you, what are you waiting for? You can change this now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan Smith, Thomas Bugos II, and Leanne Briatico.
Hi, how are you? Better than I should be. Whenever you're ready. Hello, my name is Dan Smith, and I'm a Seminole County employee since 2003, I'm pretty sure. All right. Regardless of not discounting what was said here tonight, I want to tell you, my girls, my two daughters, went through the Seminole County school system in elementary and middle and high school, And I got to tell you, they are really prepared for life. Both of these girls are smart, they're intelligent, much better prepared than I am. Going to very good schools, and they're beautiful. I'm not going to give you that, but I can't take it for myself either. They look like their mom. But they're very well prepared, and you guys did a great job. The people in this room did a very good job, everybody. I was going to name drop, but I'm afraid I'm going to miss somebody. So just everybody that they had really did a great job for it. Now, that being said, I want to tell you, I teach oral communications. I'm a speech teacher. I'm coming to terms with the fact that that's pretty much going the way of the typewriter, but I still will desperately hold on to oral speech and think it's important, and I tell my kids it's important. But I'm the only one who teaches it at my school. I don't work with anybody. I mean, there are teachers that certainly support me and collaborate with me, but nobody does what I do. So I really am clueless to how I do, really what I'm doing. I'm rated highly effective, and I really don't know. Well, I don't know how. I know how because it's on the box that I check off. And once a year, somebody sees me for half an hour, and we talk and ring the bell. But what happens is I get feedback quarterly from my students, and I want to know how I'm doing, and I ask them. Now I have 182 kids on my roster, and inevitably about 34 kids in a class. 30 of them tell me, Mr. Smith, you're great, don't change anything, you're perfect, you're wonderful, you're good looking. And it doesn't help me. It's like 30 notes from my mom, you know? But I get a few of them, which really help. Mr. Smith, you're always in a bad mood. Mr. Smith, I really want to ask for help, but I'm afraid of you, okay? And as ridiculous as it sounds, I don't notice those things, okay? Nobody tells me those things, and it's true. It really is true. I'm grumpier than I used to be, and I understand that. But it helps. It helps considerably. Now, that being said, as we celebrate the grades that came out this week, I want you to be aware of the other stuff that doesn't always get in the survey. The people that are standing out there, the people that are in the audience, are telling you something, and I'm really hoping that you're going to listen to them, regardless of the grades or the surveys or anything else and how well prepared we are. They are telling you something, and I hope you take that in reflection. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thomas, then Leanne, then Connie Britton, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, Dr. Griffin. My name is Thomas Joe Bugas II, and I am a proud parent of 2 Seminole County Public School students. And this evening, I had the proud moment of having my children and wife come out and stand outside tonight on the sidewalk out front, holding up signs, asking for the support of the teachers. Now, when my children asked me why did I want them to come here, it wasn't because I wanted to have them out there showboating them, saying that we deserve money. I brought them out there to show them that we need to respect their teachers, respect their bus drivers, respect those individuals that in their society has chosen to do public service, not to become rich, not to get the recognition of a Super Bowl star, but to do what's great for their country and their community, to prove that somebody really cares about where they're at, and it's not about the guts and glory. And I'm often sitting here when I'm in many of these meetings, because I go to 3 to 5 meetings a week. I sit on these boards free because I think that it is my duty as a member of this society to participate in it. And if I want change, I need to be part of that change. And I'm often thinking, as I sat here tonight and as I sit in some of these meetings, of a book that I used to read to my children, and then I know we still read in the community, by Shel Silverstein, The Giving Tree. And it's a book about selfless love, as I take it. One of the characters gives selflessly over and over again. Every time the other character asks for something, they're willing to give more. They give to the point that they can't give any more than it seems. And at that very moment, they offer what's needed most. A moment to sit and relax. And that young man that grew up with that tree, playing with it, who cut it down to build his new house, he finally realizes that he had everything he needed, and he sits down. And I ask you, where does Seminole County School Board sit? Are they the loveless, giving tree? or the selfless love of this giving tree, or the young man asking for more and more, and they can't give anymore. We are giving everything we can as these employees, these public servants. They've dedicated their life to this, not for the glory, but because they feel so strongly that this is what that's needed in their community. And every day they wake up to go to work, and that's what they do. I'm asking you to respect them and sit down and do what's right at the negotiating and bargaining table. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Leanne, then Connie Britton, then Cindy Bellinger, please.
Hi, I'm Leanne Briatico. My address is 14207 Plantation Lake Circle in Sanford. I've been teaching for 6 years at Crystal Lake Elementary. I'm a highly effective teacher. One thing I am happy about was this evening in the opening statements, our board chairman mentioned our SCPS family, because that's the way you refer to us, as a family, because that's what I want to talk about tonight, is family. I have 2 daughters. I'm a single parent. I have 2 daughters who both graduated from Lake Mary High School. One is in the hospitality management program at UCF, and my other daughter is on a full scholarship, full academic scholarship at Stetson University. She worked really hard to get that, but she also had a lot of fabulous educators in her life. Both of my daughters did. Some of them are sitting in this room right now, and I can't thank them enough for the influence and everything they've done for my children. All that being said, I also have to take care of my children, and I'm working on a teacher's salary. That salary, a beginning teacher salary, brand new, right out of college, starts at $39,000. After 6 years of teaching, my salary is $39,782. And I've been a highly effective teacher. Those 6 years only are worth $782 based on what I'm being paid. I've had to make decisions to be able to help my children and to take care of my family. I've had to make decisions because we sacrifice for our families. I'm leaving the county at the end of this school year, moving to another county so that I can continue teaching in a county where I can afford to teach, where I can afford to live and teach. I would do anything for my family. If you are going to refer to us as family, I just don't feel like you're treating us like family, because family does for family. Family takes care of family, and we need to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Britton. Cindy Bellinger, then Bruce Washington, please. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Griffin, board members, I'm Connie Britton, 220 Hancock Court, Castleberry, Florida, and I am a teacher at Lake Howell High School. I remain concerned about the salary disparity between what the 4 unions have requested and what the district is willing to offer. I entered public education 15 years ago, fulfilling the last wish of my father, who believed public school teaching was the way to give back to future generations. To meet his wish, I left a more lucrative career as a magazine journalist and adjunct college professor. Each collegiate institute for which I worked bumped my salary to give me credit for part-time teaching. I was shocked to be denied such a salary bump in public school, and I asked multiple times, why is this a reality? But apparently it is. So Seminole County has certainly benefited from my much additional work experience and collegiate teaching experience, but I got nothing for it, whereas I did from various colleges and universities. Add to this, in multiple years, to only earn a one-time bonus has resulted in greater difficulty to make ends meet. So, to survive as a single, home-owning educator, I have needed 2 jobs to pay the bills. This is a constant stress-producing struggle with an ever-changing cost of living. Despite such major stress, I remain concerned about meeting and exceeding my students' needs. I find it ironic that we remain an A+ school district when it is dedicated employees are not deemed worth an A+ salary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cindy, then Bruce Washington, and Jennifer Betzinger, please.
Hi, my name is Cindy Ballinger. I am 103 Shire Court, Sanford, Florida. I am a teacher at Crystal Lake Elementary School. I've been teaching for 17 years. Before I begin with my speech, I just want to tag on with what Ms. Baratico had said about her salary and only making $700 more than a beginning teacher. I'm hoping that you are not aware of this because I'd be extremely appalled. We have teachers in our school systems that have been teaching for 2 to 3 years that are making less than the beginning school teacher salary. You seem to increase their salary for the first-year teachers, but you leave everybody else behind. So, this week at my school, Crystal Lake Elementary, teachers decided to take a stand and only work our contracted hours. I must tell you that this stressed me out extremely. I had to email my parents and inform them that I only worked my contracted hours, so I apologize that I did not have all of their weekly papers graded, nor did I have their weekly Friday folder that went home, updating them on data for their children with reading counts and their, we call it Mad Minute, their addition and subtraction facts. I also was unable to do my Black History project that I wanted to put into eCampus because I'm a blended learning teacher, and that takes time to put in everything you need to put in for your students in through eCampus on their web pages. I also did not have time to type up a letter asking my parents for donations so that my students could end our Earth Surfaces unit on soil by doing edible soil. I know that these things seem like they're minute, and these are things that I don't have to do, but they're things that I choose to do because I choose my students. My question to you is, when are you going to choose them? If teachers continue to work only our contracted hours, we will not be able to go above and beyond for our students. Our students will not be able to perform for your test. They won't be able to do well, and your A county is not going to be an A county anymore. Enough is enough.
Good evening, Mr. Washington. After you will be Jennifer Betzinger and then Amanda Clodfelder, please. Good evening.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I come to you as a taxpayer, an employee, and a parent of a student that goes to Seminole County Public Schools. I have 2 stories to tell you. One is dear to my heart. Another employee, as people know me, I deliver to the schools and they know me, and she came to me in tears. She works for the food service / dining services. She's been in the system for 10 years. Once she pay all her bills, it's not like she's going out partying that she pay her bills. She have a child she take care of. And once she pay her bills, she don't have any food to feed her child. She came to me, and I went to some of the schools that I know that have pantries, that they assisted me to help her have food to feed her children. And when she came to me, I was in tears with her. And I did what's inside to me to help my fellow employee. I'm asking you to help the employees with a raise. And also, I'm coming you on a story on me, my behalf. I've been in this school district getting ready to complete my 29th year. I don't even make over $40,000. I shouldn't have to live paycheck to paycheck. I shouldn't have to. I put my years in. I didn't go get a degree, but when I came to the Seminole County Public School, I didn't come looking at it as a job, but as a career. And I may not be a teacher or a counselor, but guess what? In my years, I've tutored some kids. I've mentored some kids. And some of them have went to do great things after I talked to them, got their act together. So could you face that young lady that cannot hardly feed their children, her child? I'm asking you, Do what's best for your employees. We make you shine. Now shine for us.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. Jennifer Betzinger, then Amanda Clodfelter, then Paige Stapleton, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Betzinger. My family and I reside in Chiliota. We have 2 children who attend school here in Seminole County. One is in 8th grade and one is in 10th grade. And my husband and I are both products of the Seminole County school system. We are also so very proud to be educators here, rated highly effective for what that's worth. The Hauk-Betzinger family has made education our business. Together, we have a cumulative history in education here in Seminole County, Florida, of over 75 years. And that doesn't include the time we attended school here. In fact, my father-in-law sat in one of those seats right there as an elected school board member. Over the last several years, I have had the privilege of meeting with Dr. Griffin and Dr. Calderon in small group forum. I've also had the privilege of having this board visit my exceptional education classroom on several occasions. In fact, one of my littlest ones gave Dr. Griffin a really soapy high five. And I have to say that I've always come away from those encounters with a really good feeling. I've told my colleagues how much we are truly appreciated and valued. I've told them that I've felt really heard. I've told them that our ideas and opinions were validated. I've told them that these people that sit here care about the programs, the people who implement them, and most importantly, about the children. Tuesday evening, February 2nd, was a rude awakening for me. I was appalled at the lack of interest and empathy on behalf of the board as my school family stood here and shared their stories, giving reason after reason and example after example of how our Seminole County Public School family goes above and beyond for their students. I heard my school family express how the lack of monetary compensation for time and effort often takes away from their own families, not only in terms of time, but also being able to adequately provide. And I left that meeting feeling proud of my colleagues. I'm proud of the strength and bravery they showed and how eloquently and respectfully they made their voices heard. And unfortunately, it seems to have fallen on deaf ears. I left wondering if I would have the same courage to speak when it came my turn. You see, educators, and by educators I mean everyone who has the ability on any given day to impact the life of a student, we are typically rule followers. We don't like to make waves or speak our own mind on our behalf. We constantly evaluate our own performance, and I'm harder on myself than any evaluation system can be. We love children, and no matter the challenges we make at work, we continue to teach and nurture and love our students, turning challenges into successes again and again and again and again. And you know this about us. And I am so disappointed at how we let you take advantage of us. I'm frustrated that my family's financial future lies in the decision-making power of this board. I am saddened by the reality that either my husband or I may have to give up this career that we love and we're good at because we can't afford to raise our family. I don't know that my words will have any different impact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing, Ms. Betzinger. Amanda, then Paige Stapleton, then Benjamin Kraft, please. Thank you.
Amanda Clodfelter, Longwood, Florida. Let the record state it's 5 hours past my contractual hours that I'm supposed to be working. I'm not paid for this right now, but I'm here because I'm an education advocate. I started the last school board meeting with a learning goal, but unfortunately I need to revisit that because we're not at a proficiency level where you should be. The school board will be able to negotiate to compensate their employees. And I thought to myself after the last bargaining meeting, as any teacher would, I might need to reflect and change that learning goal. Because what they really need to do is listen and negotiate to compensate their employees fairly and value their employees. I inquired then, I wonder, how much does the school board bargaining members make? And do you know what? I got an answer. They do make a stipend. They receive, SEA bargaining unit receives $800 stipend for the year. And if they bargain with SEA, SECA, NIPSCO, School Bus Drivers Association, they receive $600. But since we bargained with all 4 units this year, I'm a little bit confused. Are they getting 1,400 now, or is that information a little misleading? I want you also to know what my UniServe members that bargain for everyone that works for Seminole County, what do they receive? $0. No stipend. We are not leftovers. We will not be seen on your budget as the end. You budget their stipend for bargaining. You budget nothing for us. You tell us you can't find 2.25%. I stood here, I gave you a learning goal. You are not at a level 3. I demand more. I am a voter. I put many of you in that seat. I can take you out. November.
Thank you. Paige Stapleton, Benjamin Kraft, then Sandra Maldonado Ross.
Hello, board members. My name is Paige Stapleton, and I am a freshman at Oviedo High School. I'd like to talk about the many standardized tests we are required to take. Day after day, we hear about these tests and how important they are. Yet day after day, I hear from my students, my fellow students, that these tests are ruining their lives. I've heard them cry, I've heard them scream. They're not happy, and neither are the teachers who have to give these tests. Why do we have to take a test that destroys so many students' minds? I have friends who are suffering from depression and anxiety, yet they have to take these tests that mentally ruin them. I am one of them. These tests make me anxious, they make me want to cry. I'm not worth this test score. I'm worth so much more. Yet that test score defines my worth as a student. It defines what I'll be able to do in life. I can do so much more. But one day maybe I'll be taking this test and I'll get sick, and that test will affect me for the rest of my life. What am I supposed to say to my cousins, my little cousins, that these test scores would change their lives, no matter how bright or smart they would be? What are we supposed to say to those teachers when our test scores reflect on them? What they teach reflect on us, and what we do on these tests reflect on them. So if we get negative test scores, it makes the teacher look like they didn't do their job. How am I supposed to convince me, myself, and my fellow students that we are worth more than test scores? Thank you.
Thank you, honey. Benjamin Kraft, Sandra Maldonado Ross, and Jessica Cottrell.
A little bit short. Good evening, school board and fellow union members. My name is Benjamin Kraft, and I work as a mechanic for the transportation department of Seminole County. I know I'm probably one of the only mechanics y'all have probably ever seen in front of the board here speaking. I started working for Seminole County Transportation over 23 years ago, after I turned 20 when I could legally drive a school bus. I spent over half of my life working for the county. I spent my 21st birthday on a band field trip in Tampa. I celebrated with the marching band, and they celebrated like I was family. I drove for 15 years until I was able to move up into the garage as a mechanic, where I've been working for over 8 years. I have many great moments with the county, and I've grown to appreciate working with the school board. I enjoy the weekends off and the steady schedule, which gave me a chance to take college classes in my time off. Upon moving into the garage at the start of the salary freeze, I've seen firsthand the effects of a stagnant salary system. I've seen the turnover rate in the garage explode with the stress of making sure these buses are safe, repaired properly, and able to transport children home safely. With the stress of making sure these buses are safe, the last few years we've had 4 skilled mechanics leave due to better financial considerations, leaving us for lesser qualified candidates in the job field. We have over 400 buses on the road, transporting thousands of students daily and interacting with thousands of other vehicles on the roadway. And we definitely want safe, qualified mechanics keeping them on the road. Myself and several other mechanics risk our lives every day out on the roads of Seminole County. I'm in charge of the wrecker in the afternoone, risking my life in the heat, the rain, underneath buses, and hooking up buses in the middle and on the side of the road of I-4, 417, and two-lane dirt roads you've never seen on a map. We do this daily with breakdowns, accidents, and everything in between, and we do this quickly, professionally, and without delay in order to bring home Seminole County's assets back to the shop so they can be put back in service and keep us out of the nightly news cycle. The rewards, however, that should come with our jobs continue to come up short. While we're here, the teachers buying crayons and pencils for the kids they also have an outpouring of the community to provide these underprivileged children the backpacks and school supplies that they need. It falls short of our responsibilities as mechanics. In order for us to perform our jobs, we have to put thousands of dollars of our own money supplying our own tools and routine additions throughout the year. From the routine yearly replacement of cordless battery packs of $80 to $200 to $20, it's acquiring the latest electronic diagnostic tool that ranges from $400 plus. We're constantly investing into this county out of our own pockets with very little in return. We're in charge of diagnosing repairs. And these repairs can cost anywhere from $50 to repairs that can cost over $5,000. The judgment of that repair could easily be the technician's lack of knowledge or the lack of tools that they can afford.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. If you do have it written out, you can enter it into public record.
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. After Sandra will be Jessica Cottrell, then Heather Edwards, then Eric Brady. Thank you.
Good evening, School Board, Dr. Griffin. My name is Sandra Maldonado Ross, 6919 Compass Court, Orlando, Florida, 32810. I've spoken before you many times before, always heartfelt, always honest, and I'm going to continue to be so. My career, as I see it, is not a job, it's a passion, and it always has been. I never expected to make millions of dollars, nor do I ever expect to make millions of dollars, but I do expect to be able to pay my bills on a regular basis, and so do those bill collectors. So with that said, we've all been asking about the money, and it seems that somehow, some way, there seems to be some miscommunication as to maybe not finding money. So that said, I do want to clarify something that has been miscommunicated to me on more than one occasion, that the millage cannot be used for teacher salaries. However, reading it directly as it was on the ballot, it says, shall Seminole County School District ad valorem millage be increased by up to 1 mil beginning July 1st, 2013, and ending not more than 4 fiscal years later on June 30th, 2017 for essential operating expenses to preserve A-rated academic, vocational arts, athletic programs, retain highly qualified teachers, and repair and maintain school buildings with annual reporting to county citizens to ensure fiscal stewardship of the funds. So as far as I can read, it can be used for teacher salaries. And it's also my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point I understand we've only used 3/4 of the mill, so there's still 1/4 of a mill that could possibly be used, and the voters wholeheartedly voted that to be passed, knowing and wanting that the teachers be given raises at that point in time with that money, if at all possible. Additionally, we're not just out here complaining. The COLA from 2008 to 2014 was 14.3% collectively, and our teachers' raises collectively on the same time period is 10.44%. So we're already at a negative 3.86%, and that does not include if we get that 2.25%. So please understand, we're not here just to gripe and complain. We love our jobs, we love what we do, we love working for Seminole County, but we also need to be able to pay our bills, and somehow it needs to happen because we know the funding's out there. I also know at the end of this school year there's at least 160 to 170 teachers retiring. That funding can be used. Also, you can take some out of the fund balance perhaps and then replace it when those teachers retire, put that money back in there if that's the concern. But somewhere it's got to be found. We know we have the money. We have to find it if we're a priority of yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jessica Cottrell, then Heather Edwards, Eric Brady, and Thomas Ponce.
Well, hello again. I'm sure you are all so excited that I'm here again. And after I send you all these emails that you have to answer constantly, I'm going to address the entire school board since I'm not allowed to address anybody individually. But because I do notice that a lot of my questions are answered in these meetings after I ask. And on social media, there's a lot of chatter, as some school board members like to point out often. Chatter such as school board members that take the day off after a meeting and spend some time with an axe because, quite frankly, she didn't want to have to use that axe the next day because people would be, maybe threatened. I've also been asked, who are my resources? Who are the people that are talking to me, telling me stories? This has been for a year now. I make these stories up. I apparently just pull them out of the air. I have nothing better to do. I don't have kids at home. I have nothing better to do but to just make up stories about teachers that are sad and that are hurting and that are overworked and overstressed and are not being heard. I make these stories up because I couldn't give names because I would never betray their trust, ever. Here they are. You don't need names. I think tonight it's evident that you've heard from parents, you've heard from students, you've heard from community members, you've heard from teachers, bus drivers. I mean, who else do you have to hear from? It's real. This county is in bad shape. This district is in bad, bad shape. And I want to go on record and say, you cannot play politics anymore. I'm going to say, the school grade, A plus this, A plus that, come on. Either you value it or you don't, because in September, you did not. In September, all 67 superintendents in Florida informed the Department of Education and the State Board of Education that we have collectively lost confidence in the current accountability system for the students of the state of Florida. We also asked the state to conduct an extensive review of the accountability system in Florida. So, the system is whack, for not a very good word, but it's true. We're all admitting it. It's a mess. What does it even mean? Well, let's not even talk about the grades. Let's not do that because then we would give glory to these grades that are just obviously pointless. Oh, wait a second. I just saw on Friday on social media, everybody boasting about these grades that we supposedly, what is the deal? I mean, you either value them or you don't. And why? Why are you valuing them? Because test scores are well known to parallel children's parents' income and education levels. So those rankings may not tell you any more about school quality than they do about the property values.
If you'd like to leave that behind, you can.
Basically, just listen to the people that matter, not your politicians and everybody else. And
thank you, Ms. Cottrell.
Seriously.
Heather Edwards, Eric Brady, Thomas Ponce.
Hello, Dr. Griffin and board members. I'm going to just read a really brief email that I had sent out earlier today, and then I just want to follow up with a particular story. I respectfully ask you to extend greater support to our wonderful teachers. For years, they have had their salaries and prep time chipped away through removal of their annual step, unfavorable changes in health care plans, overscheduling of meetings, leaving them little to no time to do prep during contract hours, etc. Please regard the teachers' concerns they've been expressing as important and take action. You have the ability to make a difference. Many active parents are waiting and watching to see what actions you will take to provide better conditions for our children's teachers, and we're placing our faith in you. I'm getting shaky because I'm a little upset. I have 3 daughters. One of them finished at Crystal Lake, and she's doing great because of these teachers. There are my two younger girls are at Crystal Lake now. One of the teachers that came up here that said she has to move because she can't afford to live here and work got my daughter off of a tier 2 and got her to a tier 1. So if it sounds like a bunch of open, vague threats that our best and brightest are going to go, there's nothing vague about it. I can give you particulars, and there are lots of people here that can. So please do something. We are losing some amazing people. Amazing.
Thank you very much. Eric, then Thomas Ponce, then Greg Owens. Good evening.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. My name is Eric Brady, and I am a bus driver at Transportation. let me first start off by saying that we are so shorthanded with drivers that our Commander-in-Chief, Julie Murphy, is often found operating the dispatch radio while the rest of the office is out driving buses. The current pay for a bus driver or monitor is so low. Give you a perfect example. My daughter is also employed by Seminole County Public Schools as a monitor on a bus, and I'm a bus driver. And if it wasn't for my wife, we could not afford to live anywhere. We would be living in our cars because there's no way we could afford a house, a car, insurance, and gas to get to and from work. So choices would have to be made. We are worth more than 2.25%. We deserve more than 2.25%. In my opinion, I expect more than 2.25%. One thing I did not see when Mr. Russi posted up there about the proposal was the proposal about collapsing steps 1 through 4 and putting everybody in those steps on step 5 and raising that rate considerably. I did believe to the point of about 8% more than what a starting bus driver is currently making. But that's where it ends, is at step 5. Step 6 through 30 get nothing more than the 2.25%. And that is wrong. Because as I have been here 12 years now, I would be making 40 cents more than a first-year driver coming in. And that's how you value your bus drivers who drive your kids to and from school safely every day, accident-free, and care about your students. In closing, I did a little research over the weekend, and in the state of Florida, a first-year garbage man, the average salary is $15.34 to haul trash, but yet we're hauling your most valuable commodity, children. Please, I implore you, come up with some money to pay us. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Thomas. After Thomas will be Greg Owens, then Stuart Bogue, then Rendell Aldridge, please.
Good evening. Oh, sorry. I have a very loud voice. Yeah, I have the loud gene from my family, sorry. Good evening. My name is Thomas Ponce, and I am a Seminole County High School student. While I have many issues that I'd like to speak about with this board, and I definitely will get to those in other meetings, I'm going to focus on one for just tonight. Salaries for school employees and why their jobs are so important, what they do on a daily basis, and how they have a ripple effect on the world we share. Now, please know, when I speak about teachers, I'm speaking about all school personnel, because teacher, in my opinion, encompasses all people who interact with students on a daily basis, regardless of their position. Teachers hold one of the most important jobs next to parents. These are the people that are guiding the upcoming leaders of the world. They are responsible for raising the next generation of citizens who will mold the future society. The reality is that to some students, their teachers are not only giving them the academics they need to be successful in the business world, they are also giving them the life lessons they need to be productive members of society. Most teachers wear many hats. They are teachers, therapists, mediators, cheerleaders, and in this crazy world we live in, our protectors. Sometimes they are the only ear and voice a student has. All of these hats are worn while maintaining a high level of professionalism and a happy and welcoming demeanor. And you know what? They do it. They do it, and they do it well. How many people here can say that that is on their job description? And I would say, aside from the parents sitting in this room, none. The responsibility that these people carry of educating and raising those who should be held with the highest regard, your children, they're forced to fight for a living wage. This is not supposed to happen, okay? This is unacceptable. We as a community should be doing whatever we have to do to make sure that teachers receive whatever they need to continue doing their most important job. If you truly want to know the value of a teacher, ask a student, because they will tell you that having a good teacher who cares and is happy in their career can make all the difference in the world. A teacher's presence in a student's life is immeasurable. It is something that cannot be gauged by a scale or a graph. It is something that, if a teacher feels appreciated, respected, and valued, and loves what they do, this escalates a student's understanding of a subject far more than than anything else can do, and it allows them to soar. A teacher's worth is priceless, and it's time we started acknowledging that. The fact is, we need to recognize that a teacher's reach goes far beyond the classroom. It reaches out into our world, and those students that grow up and join the workforce from having these teachers raise kids of their own and become the society of tomorrow. Do we want students who are taught by teachers who are supported, well paid, or do we want students who are taught by teachers who are spread thin, angry, and frustrated that they were cheated over? We expect so much, yet we're willing to give so little back. If you as a board think that your decisions do not affect us, you are mistaken. If you think that we do not understand that school, in all of a sense, is a business, we understand this, and we think it's a bad business. You have a choice. You can either invest in the future of your students or sit back and watch the destruction of your education system from the inside out.
Thank you so much, Thomas.
Thank you. I just want to say one more closing thing, that this is a far bigger issue than just pay raises, and there is far more at stake than just money.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Greg Owens, then Stewart, then Rendell Aldridge.
Hi, my name's Greg Owens. I'm a school bus driver, and I'm hoping you guys aren't really bored. So I'm going to try and change that a little bit. As a school bus driver, first day of school is pretty nerve-wracking. New kids, not been on a bus before. Finally get them on the bus, get them seated, get them seat belted in, and I tell them a joke. Okay, this is the joke. There are two muffins sitting in an oven. One looks at the other and says, "Gee, it's hot in here." The other one goes, "Oh my gosh, a talking muffin!" It's a real groaner. But the kids go home and they repeat the joke to their parents to the best of their knowledge. And they make me repeat it to all the new students and other personnel that come on the bus. And so I thought I'd repeat it for you. I also tell another joke a little bit later on. And I got thinking about this joke, but first I'll tell the joke. There's this guy. He's going ice fishing. We don't know much about ice fishing here, but up north, he goes out in the middle of his pond, cuts a hole in the ice, and sits down, starts fishing, drops his line in the water, and he's there for hours. His coffee's gone cold in his thermos, his feet are cold, his butt is really cold. And this little boy comes out on the ice not far from him, cuts a hole in the ice, drops fishing line in the hole, pulls out a fish. The guy's watching it and saying, "What the heck's going on there?" The little boy does it again, and again, and again. There's a good half a dozen, 8 fish sitting on the ice next to the little boy. So he walks over, he says, "I gotta know, what are you doing? I've been here all day." Little kid looks up at him and says, he goes, "What?" He says, "I'm sorry, son, I can't understand a word you're saying." Little kid goes, "You got to keep your worms warm." So I got thinking about that. And there's a lesson to be learned in this joke. And that is, in order to have success at what you're choosing, you've got to cut through boundaries. You have to break through ice. But then, to get the repeated success that you want, you got to keep your worms warm. So, please keep our worms warm.
Thank you so much. Stewart, then Rendell Aldridge, then Elliot Lemoncelli.
I know. I'm prepared. Hey, good evening, board. My name is Stuart Bogue. I'm the art teacher at Idlewild Elementary. 7 years ago, I traded the corporate boardroom for the excitement of my classroom. This career change is something I do not regret. I simply love my job. Early in my business career, I also volunteered for Orange County Public School Compact program. The program identified students with a high probability of dropping out and matched them with a mentor from the business world. My toughest student transferred from the middle of the Bronx to the middle of Pine Hills. Yo, Mr. Bogue, back in New York City where I'm from, you would get popped because you look like a narc. Oh, yeah? What does popped mean? So I retaliated. Well, Stevie, in Booger Holler, Georgia, where I'm from, you would get stopped because we don't like know-it-all kids from big cities. That simple exchange and banter cemented our mentorship program as he frequently took shots at my whiteness, my countryness, my clothes. I took it all in stride. Years later, I was deeply touched when he tracked me down and apologized for how he treated me when we first met. The prophetic words of Dr. Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. People will never forget how you made them feel. After my second year of teaching, I got this crazy idea that I was going to travel the country by Amtrak. At the Grand Central Station in New York, a person tried to hustle me by aggressively leading me to where I was already going anyway. When she demanded a tip, I countered that I was just a school teacher on a tight budget taking a dream trip. She was horrified and apologized. And then she shared a story about her favorite teacher, the teacher who always believed in her and encouraged her. I worry that the current climate towards education may be chasing our dynamic teachers out of the classroom and towards the corporate boardroom, a Seminole County brain drain. The kindergartners who recently painted in my classroom will graduate from high school in the year 2028. Who can imagine what the world will look like then? I cannot, but I do know this. What our world needs are bright, creative, and innovative thinkers. This spirit is nurtured and encouraged every day in our district classrooms. Please help keep our top talent in Seminole County. All right.
Thank you so much. Mr. Aldridge, Elliot Lemoncello, Belinda Anderson.
I know that, Bevots. Hi, I'm Rendell Aldridge. I live in Eustis, Florida. And I want to thank you for letting me speak. I wasn't sure I could get here because I was upstairs doing the ESOL class until 7:30. I want to thank certain people, but I'll try to say it anonymously. But I've been at my school, Spring Lake Elementary, which is a Title I school, for over 16 years. And I want to thank the board member who had volunteered years ago to help us. I want to thank the board member who was a tooth fairy, who came and said my kindergarten class was the quietest one she's ever been to. And I want to thank a certain person a year ago who took time out to meet with me. 16 years ago, this was an excellent place to come and work. I have driven 140,000 miles to come to work. I drive through Lake County, Orange County, to get to Seminole County. And my wife saw how good this county was. She wanted to join me. She was 9 years as a kindergarten teacher at Forest City Elementary. I want to thank you for having a moment of silence for her. But nobody told me that you had one, because she died unexpectedly. And since she has died, I'm on one income, and I can't make it. And it's just me. I don't have any kids. Just one person. And I can't make it. I'm tired. I'm overworked. I'm frustrated. And yet I still come to work to Seminole County. I still drive 3 counties to come to see my kids in my Title I school. Please help us. Please help us.
Thank you very much. Elliott, then Belinda Anderson, then Benjamin Kraft, please.
Okay, this is
Good
a little
evening.
terrifying. This is the largest group I've addressed since probably 7th grade. I am a paraprofessional at Lake Howell High School. I am a byproduct of this district. I went to Lake Brantley High School. Some of my colleagues are in the audience. Primarily what I wanted to ask you guys about is, I am a paraprofessional. My salary is ridiculously low. Everybody knows that. But I have a master's degree. I am a certified teacher, and I have 5 certifications. My license is up at the end of the year. I've been able to get about 3 points in the last 5 years. I don't know if I'm going to have my license come June. I may have to leave the district. And I really don't know what to do. I've talked to many people, and no one seems to know the answer. And I honestly wasn't planning on saying anything when I got up here, but so I don't have anything planned. But I'm glad you guys all came. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Belinda Anderson and Benjamin Kraft. Happy birthday.
Hello, how are you all doing today? Great. My name is Belinda Anderson, and I have attended Seminole County Public School, Lake Mary Elementary, Lakeview Middle, and I graduated from Lake Mary High School. And I also have been in transportation for 10 years. And what I have heard today, that everything I heard today is built on bad infrastructure. A bridge is strong, but one day the one side might give out, and you still have the other side is still strong. But if you take bad material and repair that bridge, it's not going to stabilize the good side of the bridge. So you're going to go buy something expensive to rebuild that bridge to stabilize the other side. So I feel like that infrastructure that gave way, I feel like we are the infrastructure that gave way. A 2.25% raise is not a good, strong infrastructure. If you don't build that with good material, guess what? The strong side of that bridge start cracking, and you all, the strong side of that bridge. It eventually start cracking. But if you build a good foundation, it stays together. And that's when everything starts growing together. So don't look down on us as a bad bridge that gave way. Because if that bridge wasn't built good, it wouldn't hold tons of vehicles. So don't think you all up here cannot fall, because you can fall. You might be up one day, and you might fall the next. You never know what the day might bring. But to build a good infrastructure, we all got to pull together, and we can make a better place.
Thank you very much. Benjamin Kraft. Is Benjamin Kraft still here? Great, thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Okay. Dr. Griffin, any unfinished business or new business, please?
Not at this time.
Superintendent's report.
There are 3 read-only items.
Okay, moving on to board member comments. Member Bauer.
No comments, thank you.
Vice Chairman Lockhart.
I don't have any comments related to anything that I've done, but I do have some questions related to some comments that were made this evening. So I don't know if you would like me to go ahead and address those now to get clarification, or if you would like me to hold these until our next meeting. What would you prefer?
I'd prefer we hold them to the meeting, get them to us, and we'll research them and bring back accurate information in the next meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other comments, Ms. Lockhart?
No, that's
okay.
all.
Member Almond?
Yes, I understand that Helpful Hands, which is an organization that helps people with things, just kind of the everyday things, that it's a 501c3 if they've fallen on light, hard times. And a lot of our students they help, gave a donation to Pinecrest Elementary of over $3,000 in books because they see the value in reading. So thank you to Helpful Hands and Regina Beerswell for that. Leadership Day at Highlands Elementary was absolutely outstanding. I'd be happy to share a brochure with you. I won't go into it tonight if you want further details. And the Florida State Junior Thespians, Tina and I stopped over there, and you all probably stopped over there as well. They had over 4,000 folks at Lyman High School, ended up having to rent additional space to continue the competition for middle school. So kudos to everybody involved in that. And that's all I have for tonight.
Great. And Member Schaffner?
I also would like us to address some of the things that were brought up tonight, and particularly about the millage. I feel like that's something that we just need to let, there needs to be an understanding of what the millage can and cannot be used for, and also the fact that it's runs out in a year and salaries are recurring. Would it be possible for you to address that? I think that's important for us to do tonight.
I had that one highlighted.
Me too.
Ms. Beeman?
Board members, because public comment is just for the public to provide information, I respectfully ask that the questions that you would like to have addressed, that they be presented to the superintendent so that they can be brought back to the next meeting. While the public gets to talk directly to the board as a whole, we do know that we are in a process, and ultimately that process may come back to this board where it will be sitting as a legislative body. We have already submitted the letter so that we move forward with the magistrate process. And so it's not to have any confusion about the process that we're in. I'd ask that we be allowed to come back separate and apart from what might be perceived as a discussion to answer any questions.
Would it be possible for us to post that on the website?
Ms. Beeman?
Because the people that have asked the question may not be here at the next meeting.
Well, Member Schaffner, we will have an opportunity, because we're in the process statutorily to address a number of issues with the special magistrate, and then there will be a hearing, and then depending upon that outcome, there may be discussion about a number of things that were brought up in public comment here tonight that's brought back to this board for decision.
I didn't intend to answer everything, because I totally understand that. But the millage issue I've heard throughout the community, and I just...
Perhaps we could have an agenda item where Bill Kelly could be available to answer some questions next board meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Aside from
Good
that,
try. Good try.
Can't blame me for trying. I too went to the middle school thespian competition. That was a state meet. I mean, we had people all over the state of Florida, middle school students. And actually, as I was leaving, there were two girls yelling at each other as I was leaving, and they were over in the corner, and I'm thinking, my gosh, what's going on? And they were practicing the skit that they were going to be presenting, so that was interesting. Other things that have been going on, I too went to the Highlands Leadership Day. That was outstanding. We witnessed the B-Bots over there as well. That was a great day. We had the opportunity to be at the Great Start Check presentation. It was done by the Blues, Florida Blue, Cross Blue Shield, and they presented a check for $25,000 to the Great Start program. That was awesome. We appreciated that. Certainly wanted to mention the Seminole County Regional Science, Math, and Engineering Fair. That was an incredible, incredible program. It was last Saturday at the Seminole Town Center, both up and downstairs, just students everywhere with their science projects. They had over 325 students from 8 of our high schools, our middle schools as well. And the actual awards program is going to be held on the 24th of February. But that was an incredible program, and kudos to Teaching and Learning and all the people that were involved in that. Stan, who was the chair of it, did an outstanding job. But I got to read you one of the presentations. Just want to see if you understand what this is all about. The effect of ethanol on the antioxidant strength of I can't even pronounce it, resveratrol using plasmodics. Sure, I knew that. How about you? It was these kids are so smart, so bright, and hey, they can stand there and explain their project to you because as the judges were going by, it's a wonderful event. And that's something that everybody should go out and see. And we had a lot of judges there from the community, the business community, from UCF, from Seminole State as well. So the other things I'll just let go.
Okay. Well, we all spoke about thespians, but I personally wanted to thank James Brendlinger for his leadership. He is actually the statewide chair of this, and on a dime, he had to spin and go rent Bob Carr Auditorium to have their last and arrange for transportation and 4,000 middle school students all together in one location. God bless him.
No doubt.
I wanted to thank San Orlando United Methodist Church for their annual Seats and Feets campaign, where they donate underwear and socks to 4 of our most at-promise schools, and they delivered bags and bags and bags of brand new items to those schools, and was very appreciative. And while they were there, they happened to ask at Hamilton, is there anything else we can do to the family liaison? And she goes, for some reason, I'm really desperate. I need size 8 and 10 shorts. And within a week, that church community got together and delivered cases and cases of brand new clothes to those children. So sometimes we just need to continue to effectively communicate, and this community steps up just as our teachers do each and every day. Also wanted to say that Minnie Cardona and myself had the opportunity to go to the annual Hispanic Chamber meeting. They have over 700 people in attendance, and people from other counties were even coming up to us, treating us like royalty because they know how dedicated this organization of Seminole County Public Schools is, focused on making sure that we are affording all of our children, even if they come to our schools not speaking English, a great opportunity. And they loved our dual language programs and things like that. So it really spread through the entire Central Florida community. And I wanted to congratulate Dr. McGee on her 20th anniversary. Many of us were at the gala for Seminole State College this weekend, and it's no surprise to our 2 Board of Trustee members, but it was very touching to see that you had dedicated to rename the Altamont campus after her. So thank you for all the collaborative partnerships that we have had so far with Seminole State and will in the future. Academic tournament, the finals are this Thursday. I've attended most of them, and if you ever want an opportunity to not feel real intelligent, I highly suggest you sit through these academic tournaments. And
Finals are next week?
This Thursday.
Okay.
At 4 p.m. right here. It's amazing. The coaches who are teachers and the students just outperform every single week.
And the scary part is the students answer the questions before they even finish telling what the question is.
Right. And again, I wanted to thank Helpful Hands as well. In addition to just the books, they also paid for an entire field trip for all the children to go see the play down at the Rep in Orlando. So again, another great community partnership we have supporting our great students and teachers. And teachers, thank you for staying so late. We know how early you need to be in the schools tomorrow, and we do appreciate all that you do. And thank you for your time here this evening. Any further business to come before the board, Dr. Griffin? Seeing none, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.